There we go. Precisely on time. Technically 1 minute early, but, well, it's counting. Let me just make sure everything is working as normal. Let's just see. Right, connection's good, stream health looks good. Hello, Poop. Hello, Smiling Knight. Good to have you both here. If everyone can hear me just fine, I'm hoping so. Isra, Chloe, hey, good to have you both. Apologies if I sound a bit more low-key today. I'm very tired. I've got a slightly sore throat, but I'm going to power through today's stream because, well, I keep saying I'm going to stream things and then I don't, so I'm at least going to make sure I do the Patron build stream for sure. But kind of expect this one, like I say, to be a bit more low-key. Hi, Leah. Good to have you here, mate. Ugh. So yeah, forgive me as I am still waking up a tad. Today's stream is slightly earlier than normal because I've got things to do later. But we'll go probably for 2 to 3 hours. I'll see how I feel, and then yeah, we'll go from there. Hi, Mina. Good to see you. Lo-fi stream, no worries. Hi, Eclipse. So yeah, today we are continuing the Patron build streams, obviously, as we have been. I've not actually done the Titania video yet. I am finalizing the edits on it now. I needed a full day to record it, as it is 2 builds in one, which means there's going to be, like, I'd say an extra, like, 10-minute section, sort of on the end to discuss the second part, so, I just needed a bit more time to cook that one. That'll be coming out tomorrow, hopefully, if all goes well. But otherwise, we can get back to making some more. Hi, Dax. Good to see you. I believe, if I remember correctly, last time we did actually come up with a list of deities that we would like to potentially take a look at. Let's see if I have them here. Right. So, we were discussing Xanathar, Yongnu, I hope I pronounced that correctly, Tasha, which I think could be an interesting one, the Prince of Frost, the Pale Knight, and Mephistopheles. All of these sound pretty good. So maybe we could take a look at these, otherwise, I don't know, perhaps if there are other suggestions, we can take a crack at those, but I think I'd quite like to stick with some big names for now. Xanathar and Tasha being done back-to-back could be a fun one, because obviously there's 2 books about those guys, or written by those guys, so to speak, you know what I mean? So that could be quite fun. Maybe. You're forever a fan of Tasha? Yeah, no, Tasha could be a fun one. Yes, Xanathar and Tasha could both be interesting things, but obviously we've got some more obscure ones here. Mephistopheles could also be a really fun one, so I think we've got a pretty interesting, like, group of characters to work with. Raphael and Anti-Ethel, yeah, they would be interesting ones to do, obviously, because they work actually in the scheme of the game. I would actually probably make Raphael, like, a Season 1 finale or something. Like, maybe, like, once we kind of wrap up this, like, initial round of builds, maybe I'll end it off with Raphael. He feels like a final one, you know what I mean? I think that could be very, very fun. But it means you'd have to go into, like, a Warlock pact after you first meet him. You'd be role-playing a little bit, but then getting the hammer at the end and all that from it would be pretty cool. So maybe we can work on something like that. Meph also does sound interesting. Yeah, Mephistopheles is Raphael's dad. I believe that is correct. We can double check that a bit later if we so desire. Kind of the counterpart to the Absolute build, but the Warlock version? Yeah, exactly. Something that's deeply rooted in the actual, you know, the game's story and all that. Okay, it could definitely be fun. So yeah, we could definitely give that a go at some point. But yeah, I would say, how about we crack open the good old poll machine, and we'll go from there. I'll throw in the names that we do have into the straw poll, and we can go from there. What do we say, huh? Vampire God Patron, aka Extended Astarium? Maybe. Maybe. Which... Who are we doing? Who we doing? Who we doing? Right, let me pull up the list. So we've got, well, obviously Xanathar. We have... Sure. Let me pop in the rest of the ones that we had from last time. Ooh, come on. Yeah. Oh no, hang on. I've missed something up here. Why is where are my windows gone? Right. That's like the... Oh, what are they called? The Knoll Patron, isn't it? Yeah. It'd help if I could type today. Again, my brain is mush. Many late nights lately. I've not been able to sleep very well. And I'm just going to copy and paste this one because fuck that. There we go. Right. Let's put you away. There we go. Right. Create poll. Share. Boop. There we go. Show results. Alright, off you pop. Have your votes. Let's see who we're doing. I'll pin that to the chat and then you guys can all have a look at it. Who are we doing today? While that's going on, I'll just double check the stream health, make sure everything is hunky-dory. Looking good so far. Any dropped frames? No, 0 dropped frames. We're doing well today. Brilliant. All right, Tasha immediately taking the lead to the surprise of absolutely no one. I think Tasha could be a very fun one to do, although I'm surprised to see, I'm never going to pronounce this right, Yeongyu is getting quite a few votes. Mephistopheles coming up in second. Again, not quite a surprise. Hello, Joshua, good to have you here. And Mega. Well, good to have you here as well. I haven't seen Mega around here for a while. Good to see you, mate. Right. You know who, why are we saying you know who? Who do you know? Who do I know? Who am I knowing? You have to understand my brain is barely functioning. you know my brain is barely functioning this morning. Oh! Okay, fair enough, Dex. That's that. Fair enough, you know who. Fair enough. Oh, but that might... It's a shame that Knolls aren't playable in BG3. No, not without some form of modification. But you never know. Like, you could almost be like a Bull type deal where the character themselves aren't a Knoll, but they kind of have dominion over that sort of area. You know what I mean? Because obviously the Red Cat was Bull, but he was worshipped by the Kuatoa. You know, stuff like that, right? So it's definitely looking like Tasha might take the vote, although this is more evenly split than I would have initially imagined. So we'll see. Hey, Frog, good to have you here. Right, let's see. How much time have we given? This is 7 minutes into the stream. I'll give it a little bit longer before we get started proper. To make sure. Again, I'm definitely worried about the stream, because last time I tried streaming, I was getting all sorts of errors popping up. I did, because I was going to stream a bit of the Solasta 2 demo, as you guys remember, but the whole time this, like, stream was acting really funky and OBS was just not liking it. So I'm kind of just making sure everything's good. Hopefully just streaming a bunch of web pages won't cause my PC to have an aneurysm, but you never know, right? Are we adding anything to the list today? I don't know. I think we've got some pretty popular picks. Definitely some stuff that I would want to go through today. I think we're going to keep it to either 2, maybe 3 that we might look into, depending on how long the stream goes for. But like I say, I'm chugging along as best I can here. Right. I'll give it 2 more minutes on the poll just for more people to be able to join in on the stream if they want to vote. Otherwise, then we'll get started. I remember you were asking me about, what was it called? Zogtroy? If that's what you're thinking of, I can put it on the list, because I know a lot of people like that one. It'll be on the list, but I don't know if it'll be for today's list, just because we've already kind of decided the ones that we're looking at. Hello, not good to see you. Is there a null mod? Probably, yes, but like I say, I'm not diving too deep into mods at the moment. just because I'm still working. Zucktamoy, that was it. I was close, alright? I was close. The Patron builds will all be vanilla, right? I could definitely see the first season of the Patron builds being vanilla. But like I say, in a few months' time, I will want to dive back into mods. I've been really sitting on a Virgil build, like a remaster of my original one that uses Bladesinger Wizard, but I don't want to do it without Steel Wind Strike at level 5 for Judgment Cut. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Because I think at some point, it's going to get to the point where, like, I will have, like, a basic mod, like, kit that will be, like, Mistress spells, the expanded classes again, you know, like, kind of the stuff I was doing before Patch 8, but again, this, like, heavily curated thing that sticks to the tabletop stuff, not just, like, anything and everything. Cosmetic mods or whatever, but, like, if I add, like, extra spells and classes and such like that in, or I will add, like, stuff from tabletop, right? And more mods have been coming out lately. I know that there are some mods that people have been posting in our Discord, and I might do separate mod showcase videos for those if I feel like I want to start expanding my content repertoire a little bit. But again, all of this is kind of up in the air, because I'm leaning towards, like, kind of over the next few months, maybe slowly starting to transition away from BG3 a little bit, just because this is the final patch. Because whereas with the others, I was able to hold on to it a bit longer because we knew more stuff was coming. Now, though, now that we know that the game's not getting any more major updates, I am going to have to think about the next thing that this channel is going to be about. And if I want to keep on the train of, like, tabletop RPGs and, like, big RPGs and such like that, it's probably going to be something like Solasta 2. Because Solasta 1 was very, very good as a D&D simulator, and now Solasta 2 coming out with the lessons that BG3 kind of taught everybody, I think it has the potential to be the next big game like that. So that's why I wanted to take a look at the demo and such. But I think I'm going to actually need a PC upgrade before I do that, because my PC's falling behind on the tech specs for all this new stuff coming out, surprisingly. The way you Steel Wind Strike is the most the way you snap to attention when you mention Virgil. Yeah. Right. So, unfortunately, I've just noticed we have a tie. So we're gonna need a tiebreaker, ladies and gentlemen, and all things in between. We are gonna need a tiebreaker. Is it in your difficult? Is it proper to take Fiend instead of the Great War? Oh, yeah, you can take a Fiend if you want to for Demogorgon if you want. Yeah, that's totally up to you. Oh, never mind. Someone just voted for Tasha. Right. Oh, that could be interesting, Boko. You are right. Hi, Pedro. Hi, Boko, actually. Never I see. Coin toss? No, no, somebody just... Okay, literally... Oh, no, no. Tasha's gone back up again. Hang on. Right. I'm going to close the poll. In 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Poll's closed. Poll's done. Tasha wins with 1 vote. We're done. Right, let's have a look. We'll do another vote afterwards. Wait. Related community. The backyard is wiki. You know, Dungeons and Dragons, tangentially related to the Backyardigans. Oh, that woke me up. Full party build when? Wow. That is something I was not expecting to see that. Right. No, that's Tasha's Colton of everything. Right, so how do I actually find Tasha herself? Wait, where's the actual page for Tasha? I'm actually what? They are a D&D party if you didn't know. Igwilf. Alright, give me a second. Is that her actual name? Oh, okay, here we go. Thank you, everyone. Again, this is where I am totally ignorant to the wider world of D&D lore, but this is why we're here to learn. Oh, I've done a few, like those, Mega. People have been really asking me to return to the single-class party builds. I'm debating it, because like I say, that's literally 4 builds in one, even though the builds themselves are simpler. There is, like, equipment synergy and all that to take into consideration, but I might go back to it. Unfortunately, though, usually when I do, like, full party builds, the videos are a bit harder to structure and they don't do as well performance-wise, which is why when I did the 4 Horsemen builds, I made them each separate videos that were meant to work together. So maybe, like, if I ever do, like, another full party build series, it'll be, like, 4 videos in a week instead of, like, one bigger video. So I think that actually creates less work on my part, believe it or not. It takes more work to make a full party build single video than it does to make 4 separate videos. So I don't know. We'll have to see. Right. No, Xanathar's the Beholder Frog. That's right. So, Igwilv, also known as Tasha or Natasha, if you're feeling spicy, and the alias... Oh god, Zybelna? Zybilna. Sure. Was an Oerthian archmage and demonologist. She famously wrote the Demonomicon of Igwilv, a tome on demonic lore. Let's actually have a look at her throughout the ages. Let's see. Oh, that's a face. She's got like a... Oh, okay, interesting. Why is she doing... Oh no, I can't believe I'm about to point this out. Why is she doing, like, the rock pose? Like, the one with the raised eyebrow? You know what I'm talking about. You know the one. She's doing the rock's eyebrow. She is. Come on. The people's eyebrow. No, Boko, no. Stop. Oh, the DreamWorks eyebrow. Bloody hell, that's a picture. Yeah, let's move on for that one. No, actually, no. I want to keep it on that one. Later in life, she created her own Domain of Delight in the Feywild, and ascended to one of the plane's powerful archfey. Domain of Delight. The Domains of Delight were a grouping of demi-planes found in the Feywild, each of which was ruled by an archfey. Some domains were difficult. Oh, so this... Okay, so this is less of a cleric domain and more of a physical domain. That makes sense. But I was about to say, a Domain of Delight cleric? I mean, you just pick the light cleric, but you'd say it with a slight accent. It's like, you know, it's Delight cleric, you know? Okay, I'll stop. Hey, Tot, how's it going? I'm tired and I'm a bit ill, but I'm still streaming. Thank God Tui isn't nudes. Yeah, that happened last time, didn't it? We were on the Titania page, and we went to Tui, and her bits were out. You should totally do a party build of the Mystic Knights of Tin and Nog. Okay, I'll have a look at that at some point. Tasha's Cauldron was the book that added lineages, so she is... Yeah, no, that's true, that's true. Right. Let's have a look. She's one of the most planes with powerful Archfey. Well, I mean, obviously that makes me lean towards Archfey Warlock again, but we'll see how we go. We will see how we go. Her actual class is Wizard, so maybe there's a room for something there. The exact appearance of Igwilf was unknown to many. Some described her as a ravishing beauty, while others claimed she was a bold and hideous crone. I think we're onto something, guys. Somebody get Game Theory on the phone. I think we know the secret identity of Tasha. I think we know. I'm sorry. Okay, I will stop. I will stop. Oh, I've already lost my mind and we're only 18 minutes in. In fact, Igwilf was quite beautiful in her youth, with raven hair that eventually went stark white. Even after becoming an archfey, she still retained a human-like appearance. Hi, Sylph, what did you tune into? Nothing, don't worry about it. We're just talking about Tasha, you know, the one who made the book. Or a bard. Yeah, maybe. Saz Tam? That name sounds familiar, but I'm not wholly familiar myself. Tasha's when a movie in the wilderness needs a female lead. God damn it. I'm never going to be able to look at that book the same way now. You guys realize that, right? Anyways, during her stay in the Abyss, okay, apparently she was in the Abyss at one point, Igwilf became extremely knowledgeable about the political hierarchy and goings-on between various powers within. She was considered a master at summoning fiends, planar exploration, necromantic magic, and later in life gained command over Fey beings. As an Archfey, she was immortal and could not die from aging. Okay, busting out the checklist now. Let me bust out the old checklist. So we're doing Tasha's, also known as Igwilf. So the checklist is as follows. We need to summon a fiend, so playing our ally is going to be necessary. Which is tricky, as you all know. The only thing that's really going to get us that outside of going full-on cleric would be the Infernal Rapier. So we'll have to see, which we might want anyway, because it gives a boost to spell save DC, but then there's the whole thing of actually getting it, because it's kind of related to will. So we'll see. Planar Exploration. So Misty Step, Dimension Door, Teleportation spells. I'll put that as a maybe, but that kind of comes with the territory anyway. You kind of just get to pick those up for free. So, yeah, it's not too much of a big deal to just grab some teleportation. Wizards get it from scrolls too? No, I don't believe so. Hold on. No, you're thinking of planar binding, which is different, because planar binding is this. Yeah, Tasha is the patron. Yes, we're not making Tasha herself, but we take inspiration from the patron's own abilities to help us make the build. Excuse me. Doesn't remember Vorpal Greatsword. She does use a sword. You guys are already looking at Pact of the Blade, aren't you? Let's have a look at Planar Ally as a spell. I could actually spell. Here we go. Planar Ally. Yeah, so the only way to get this without the Infernal Rapier is from level 11 of Cleric. You were thinking of Planar Binding. Yeah, and then there's also the Diva Scroll, but obviously we want the Cambion summon, don't we? That's the main thing that we're after. So the Infernal Rapier might be a requirement on the build. I don't know. We'll see how we feel about it the further we go in. Surely Fiendlock would Pact to the Tome? Maybe, yeah. Well, again, we can see, right? So, let's see. Necromantic Magic, yep, and Command over Fey Beings. So we might want Planar Binding anyway for the Command over Fey Beings type deal. Protection from Evil and Good I could also see. Necromancy. Command over Fey. Yep, okay. She was immortal and could not die from aging, so yeah, maybe an elf. Right, possessions. Here we go. This is where it's going to get interesting. So, Igwilf had a vast collection of magic items, oddities, and personal mementos that she kept within her Palace of Heart's Desire. Oh, why is that giving me a sense of deja vu? Palace of Heart's Desire. I don't know. It'll hit me later, and I probably won't even see it coming. Right, in her home in the Plain of Prismia. Notable amongst these were a magical mirror that showed her the individual gazing into it what they desired most in the reflection within. Okay, isn't this just... Oh, what's the story? What's the old Disney film? Oh god, why am I forgetting this? Was it Snow White with the mirror? Was it Snow White? I couldn't remember if it was Snow White or the one with Maleficent. I couldn't remember, but that's giving me that type of vibe. Was it Snow White? Okay, thank you. Sorry, I think the recent live action movie just made me eject the thought of it from my brain. Anyways. Yeah, it's hard to nail down a wedge or a theme for her because she does so much. Yeah, that is true. Well, we can continue to have a look. Notable among these was a magic mirror, desire the most reflection within, 3 jars of time that displayed the visage of a being at 3 different points in their life. Okay. A magical chessboard given to her by the Archmage Mordenkainen, and the Vorpal Greatsword. That is an amazing name for a sword. It's also pretty as fuck. What the hell? That looks amazing. So, okay, so I guess we need a greatsword? This build is all over the place with the theming already, but I kind of love it. Best sword name. I don't know. I'm partial to the Fuckbringer myself. I think that's a pretty solid sword name. I don't know, there was this one old meme that was like a comic panel of like this adventurer. It's like, you can name this legendary sword, and he just calls it the Fuckbringer. And I think that's one of the best sword names I've ever heard in my life. But anyways. One of Ignor's most wondrous and powerful items was her personal cauldron. Ah, there it is. An artifact to which she crafted with the assistance of her adoptive mother. It held 2 different forms and many magical properties, including the power to permanently freeze time for everyone within a 1,000-foot, 300 meter, for those who actually use a proper unit of distance, radius. Okay, interesting. Her personal library held tomes that originated from across the plains. The City That Waits, Lysandred, Kingdom of Ghouls, many. Okay, so I would say maybe picking up the Necromancy of Thay during your playthrough would probably be a good roleplay thing. So I might put that on Necromancy of Thay. Okay. Literally, that's like a nice little side quest. She wore the robe of the Archmagi and the amulet of the plains, and during her time in the Abyss, she wielded a Staff of Power. Okay. So this is kind of more of a footnote, so I'm not as worried about the Staff of Power. But an Amulet of the Plains? The wearer keys the amulet to cast Plane Shift, transporting themselves and nearby creatures to a familiar location of a plane of existence. However... Right. So this is basically like about planar travel. Okay, so we're definitely going to want teleportation in this build. And the Realm of the Archmagi... magical and physical defense, as well as improving the user's magical prowess. Probably the Robe of the Weave, then. I would say Robe of the Weave. Probably going to go on this build, to be honest. That just kind of... That's basically a Robe of the Magi in this game. Blink as well. Blink would actually be pretty good for planar travel. Yeah, I agree. Good shout. The ultimate name for a bard katana, the Click Cutter. My goodness, it's the Twins of Time. A Twins of Time remaster. What would I even do differently? Like, I think with that video, I kind of nailed the concept. I don't know what else I would change there, because none of the modern subclasses immediately jump out to me as being, like, time-related, right? I mean, the only thing I guess you could change would be for the wizard build, you throw on Bladesinger for the sake of throwing in Bladesinger, but I just don't feel it, you know? I like that video the way it is, you know what I mean? Isn't Blink still bugged? Isn't everything in this game still bugged? Despite purposely ignoring the function which breaks concentration, a status group error still breaks concentration while vanishing. Yeah, that is the big stupid thing, unfortunately. When vanishing into the ethereal plane, equipped items are temporarily disabled, which will cause them technical statuses that include on-remove functions such as those used by trigger, removing any effects provided by those items. So yeah, unfortunately Blink does have a pretty goddamn big downside. Because, yeah, it has all this crap going on. But it is planar travel, which I would put on this build. So, I know there is... give me a sec. There is, if I look... There is one that fixes a bunch of the bugs, isn't there? There is like a big all-encompassing mod here. I'll if somebody could remind me of the name, that does fix a lot of these minor bugs. It's kind of like the Skyrim unofficial patch, but for Baldur's Gate 3. So there might be ways of fixing this for people who don't mind putting that little bit of extra effort in. I think a mod that bug fixes is not exactly breaking the rules of the series, shall we say, but regardless, we'll move on. Yeah, it effectively requires concentration itself. Yeah, that's about right. But anyways, moving on. Activities. Is this the first time we've had an activity section on one of these wiki pages for the deities and patrons that we've looked at? Let's have a look. While Igwilv was most famous for creation of her namesake for Demonomicon, she authored the unpublished tome The Faceless Lord and a more focused study on the demon prince Jubilix and, obviously, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, which is the book that we got. Igwilv was credited with a number of spells, most of which were described in the Demonomicon. Her spells include Dolor, Ensnarement, oh god. Lover's Call, Minimus Containment, Tasha's Caustic Brew. Definitely going to want some form of acid attack. Tasha's Hideous Laughter, obviously we need that one. That is a requirement. Tasha's Hideous Laughter. It's a shame we're not using Mistress spells here, because we'd get a bunch of these, but yeah. What is Dolor? What the fuck is Dolor? From 3rd edition. Spell draw on the power of a planar binding spell to imbue the caster's words of arcane power, making it easier to compel creatures they are trapped from the planar binding to do some sort of service for them. This made the target more susceptible to spells such as Charm and Command. Okay. So I could say we could grab planar binding, Charm Person, and Command. I think that makes sense. Like, maybe we can use these spells here to help decide our spell list. Ensnarement. Okay, so that's just planar binding. Ensnarement is just planar binding. Exaction. Yeah, the Dolor is the name of the Bolus daggers. Yeah, so maybe there's something there. But I think we're locked in on using a greatsword on this build because it's literally one of her artifacts. So, I don't know. Tasha slightly used fork, I just saw that. I apologize, I feel like I'm missing a lot of the chat messages today, but there's a lot of you here today, and it's going by quite quick for me, so... Hi, Sin, good to have you here, I just noticed you. Sorry about that, mate. Would Melt's Acid Arrow be heresy to use for Tasha? No, not really. It's an acid-based spell that would do the job for us. Again, we work with what we have in BG3. Enchantment Wizard? Maybe. Exaction is planar ally? Yeah, basically. Planar binding, planar ally. Yeah. This is sounding good for Archfey Warlock. Hi, Andrew. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We will have to see and decide as we go. Dolor is the name of the serial killer dwarf. Yeah, we're not making a chosen of a serial killer today. Exaction was a divine evocation alteration spell that summoned a player being to strike a bargain for service. Okay, so it's literally just about summoning things. See, this makes me want... Well, we could get... If we play as a wizard, or at least have a wizard level, which I think we would, we could still get the Sights of the Seelie spell, right? To summon the Diva? We definitely could. In fact, I just remembered I needed to put that on... Yeah. Right. She's in all schools, yeah. So I definitely think we want to get the Diva summon as well. I think that just makes sense. The only one we'd be missing would be the Jinn summon, which kind of sucks, but I don't know. I feel like having Demon and Angel, it works. Oh, I accidentally closed that. Whoops. Imbrue, Implore. I'm just going to look at the ones that have links. Dismissal was an abjuration spell that could send the next planar creature back to its plane of origin. Okay, so this is banishment. So what I'm noticing here is, we are going to be getting a lot of planar shenanigans. I have noticed. So I'm noticing a theme of, like, summoning, dismissing, like, all that sort of thing, right? I just realized there's been a blank message pinned for ages. Whoops. Dismissal, I cast Begone Thought. Do people even still say that? Begone Thought? I feel like that's, like, some of the old language now. Like, people nowadays say fucking skibbity or something, I don't know. Warlock Cleric? Maybe? But I feel like we need Wizard. we kind of need wizard in this one. I feel like she is a wizard, for starters. Like, minimus containment. Oh my god, you just make a dude tiny? Oh, okay, I guess, enlarge, reduce on this build as well? Okay. Enlarge, reduce it is. Honestly, I could almost see this build being a conjuration wizard. Fucking Skibbity or something goes on shit. God, if I ever make merch, if I ever get to that point, fucking send my channel, like, into the toilet. Seriously, I don't want to get that far. Tasha's Caustic Brew. So we definitely want an acid spell of some kind. So probably Mouse Acid Arrow. Autoluke's Reductive Spear. Oh, actually, that could be a cool way of representing it. Yeah, let's get Autoluke's as well. That was a good shout. Well done, Ilya. That was good. Lore Bard, since you get most of the spells you need? Maybe. Maybe. I could see Lore Bard 10 or 11 with a 1-level dip into Wizard at least to get scrolls. Maybe with the Warped Headband of Intellect on to not have to worry about the stats so much. And mainly just use the Wizard stuff for buffing and, like, the summoning and the banishing and all that sort of thing. Could work. You could also get Banishing Smite for the Greatsword. Oh shit, that actually sounds pretty good. We'll circle back to that. Oh god, no, I just thought of it. Could also do a 1-level dip of Hexblade. Although if we're using the Infernal Rapier, that might not actually be necessary. Lorebot is actually such a good shout since he's most famous for writing these books. Yes. You're right. I think it might be Lorebot in some capacity. I think you guys are right. I'm putting it on the checklist just to see. And it's Charisma, the most phase stat. Yeah. Maybe. We'll see. Any more spells? Circulate 15th Century, DR Waterdeep. As a security measure against burglars, Tasha's Mind Whip. Tasha's Otherworldly Guise, and Torment. So I know Tasha's Mind Whip is not on that site. Where's 5e Tools when you need it? There you go. Don't ask why I was looking at the grappled condition. I totally wasn't writing a subclass based around it. Oh, she actually has a stat book. There you go, Tasha's Mind Whip. Physically lash out at the creature you can see within range. The target must make an intelligence saving throw. On a failed save, it takes psychic damage. Can't take a reaction on the next turn. I can't read because chat's in the way. Moreover, on its next turn, it must choose whether it gets a move, an extra, or a bonus action, and can only use one of those 3. On a successful save, the target takes half as much damage. Okay. Maybe the slow spell, then, to kind of imitate that? It's just dirty air fryer? What do you want about? Yeah, I know what you mean, Smiling, but... Okay, this is where the big divide in my community comes from, right? Because half of you guys, and I'm not just saying everyone in this chat when I say you guys, I'm just meaning like the community at large, the people who watch my videos, like the subscribers and the people in the Discord. There is a huge divide about using mods in my videos. Cosmetic mods have never really been an issue for anybody, but actual game-changing mods have been a big divide. Stuff that adds classes, stuff that adds spells. People really seem to be on the fence as to whether or not these things should be allowed. And it for that period of time where I was using mods, it did cause a big rift, which ultimately wasn't healthy, which is why I'm hesitant to use mods at the moment. Sorry, I'm just typing something down. So it's a bit... So as much as I would love to go straight into using things like Mistress Spells again, because it did give me a lot more freedom and would help with this build in particular, I do think that there is value in having vanilla-only builds as well as working within the limitations of being vanilla-only, because it allows for more creative outcomes. I don't... It's hard to say. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I've obviously, like I said before, I've always had the notion of using mods that are from tabletop, so it's balanced and fits the overall vibe of the game. I'm not doing level 20 mods, and obviously I'm only using stuff from tabletop, like I said, and I make it so it's only stuff that's available to all platforms so that everyone can still make the builds, which is why I waited so long for patch 7, but I don't know. At this point, I'm worried about going back into mods so soon. I think I want to give patch 8 a little bit more time to cook, or patch 9, patch 8, whatever, Patron, I can't even remember. No, it's patch 8. And just see where we go from there, right? If that makes sense. Attach yourself a worldly, guys. I'm going to look at this one as well. No, tabletop is not balanced anyway. To be fair, Baldur's Gate 3 isn't balanced anyway. But, again, like I say, it caused a pretty big rift in the community, and I don't really want to go through that again, if I can help it. This transform yourself. You're immune to... Oh, okay, so it gives you, like, damage immunity, so bonus to AC, weapon attacks are magical, you gain extra attack. Okay, so it's like Tensor's transformation, but slightly different. Okay, interesting. I mean, I love the idea of, like, transformation spells. I just find them cool. But I don't think we're going to be able to get this, so I'm not going to try. Disguise Self would be the closest, I think. And Torment is the last one. Okay, so this would be like Dominate Monster, I guess. So I guess we could grab Dominate Person to kind of emulate that. I don't know. We'll see. Does anybody else like Pact of the Chain? I do like the idea of it. I just think the implementation is a bit poor. I think that's because, okay, Find Familiar is way better in tabletop because of the advantage help action shenanigans, which BG3 doesn't have. So Find Familiar, unfortunately, just isn't as good overall. It's okay to just have the Find Familiar spell, because, again, your familiars can scout ahead and do, like, minor things, like, outside of combat, but having, like, extra attack on something that has 2 HP is, like, I don't know, Pact of the Chain just often isn't worth it, in my opinion. The best way to do a familiar in the game is to just have Scratch or Shovel, in my opinion. Pact of the Chain just most of the time isn't worth it, unfortunately. Hideous Laughter. Yeah, obviously we're going to get Hideous Laughter. You would not think I would forget Hideous Laughter when it's literally in the name. Come on. Yeah, Danvern, I know what you mean, but it's tricky. Like, this is the thing, okay, so I'm going to get a little bit weird for a minute, which I'm sure is nothing new, but anyway. A lot of people who aren't on, like, the creator side of things don't see everything. Like, I see everything. I see the comments, I see the Discord posts, I see both sides of every argument. I see every person agreeing with what I say, I see every person disagreeing with what I say, I see everybody criticizing what I say, I see everybody praising what I do. Like, I see everything. And usually Group A does not see Group B. And so when I see everything, I have to take it into account. Like, I think most of the people in this stream are okay with mods. But there is a huge subsection of people who only watch my videos, either because they can't catch the live streams or whatever, that are completely against the idea. And it's like, I have to try and appeal to both in some ways. I'll figure it out eventually. Like I say, I will probably slowly transition back into mods, I would say, in a couple of months, in which case any of these builds could be remastered or revisited. Not a huge deal. But for now, I'm just going to keep with my plan that I have. Boko? Okay, so I've been deliberately ignoring every ILF comment you've made. Stop. It gets past the point. But anyways. Apart from spells developed by her, she was also credited with the creation of Tasha's Atrocious Robe. Okay. Was amongst the Windsor collection curious from across the multiverse, displayed in Mysterious Westgate. Okay, what is this? Tasha's atrocious robe. Possessed a +1 enchantment and granted the wearer protection against mundane and magical threats. Additionally, the wearer of the atrocious robe became proficient in arcane defense and in the enchantment school of magic and granted knowledge. I stop. See what you're saying. Yeah, poor fashion sense definitely bad. Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah, you better be sorry, smiling. Most of your mods are quality of life and cosmetic. Yeah, like, I think some mods are okay, but big gameplay stuff is, like I say, divisive. Despite Tasha being known for a spell that caused uncontrollable laughter, I wonder what that is. She also created this lesser known magical robe. Yeah. So basically, this thing is just meant to be like, you're better at arcane stuff, which we could just get through all of our equipment choices anyway. Tasha's unhemmed pants. Robe of Supreme Defense? It's probably just going to be the Robe of the Weave. I'm not going to lie to you. Right, relationships. Was considered one of the most powerful beings in the multiverse, on par with demon lords. She had many confusing relationships with the demon prince Gratz. This is the guy some of you were on about, right? Look at this dude. Oh, hell, that's a cool picture. You know what, Tasha? I get it. For looking for that picture, I get it. Less so now. Dude, looks like a proto-GIF Yankee. What is this? Crassus a guy? She's got a son with him? Oh, no. Okay, literally, in all his handsome glory, they knew. They knew. Although this is not his most flattering image, let's be real. Okay, that is a real low cut. We're just gonna go away from that one. You know what? Consider... Oh, wait, hang on. Pleasure, decadence, and unlimited self-indulgence. Okay, yeah, we know... We know how he scored Tasha. Okay, we've just figured it out. I did say she was the fiend. I can see it. There you go, and there they are together in happiness and... Yeah, you know, your ideal, you know, location for a date, you know, moonlit, like a nice, like, comfortable boat ride, you know, with magical creatures all around you, and the hands of the damned constantly trying to claw at you at every single possible second. Wow. D&D lore's weird. Yeah, 6 feet, fingers on each hand, take that how you will. How does a concept for a stream of let's look at D&D lore and just have some fun and make some interesting ideas based on it always go so far off the rails? Every time. Like, every time we have memes and jokes and, like, just go completely off track. We had the bloody backyardigans today, for God's sake. Like, how does it always go so wrong? Hey, do you think only knights in shining armor can have love? Absolutely not. I don't get why you'd want to have a date on a river of the damned. I'm just saying, like, surely that kills the vibe a little bit. Anyways... Let's continue. I'm not really gonna continue. Maybe I do need to continue this part because there might actually be some important information here. Both have various points been the consort prisoner and master to the other. Oh my god, they were kinky as fuck. While they always had no trust between them, they also held no secrets from each other. Both Igwild and Gratz sought to use to betray each other. Yet also supported or even rescued one another when in peril. Oh my god, they were on again, off again. Jesus Christ. This is like watching an episode of, like, Love Island or something, but it's D&D, and I don't even watch Love Island. I just know it's that sort of bullshit. Don't shame the immortal witch and fiend. I'm not... Okay. It's not shaming if you're criticizing someone for literally using infinite torture's damned souls to their love life advantage. I'm sorry, okay? And then there was jealousy. Look, it's literally an episode of Love Island or something, or freaking whatever. very, very bard. Like, I love how the further we go down this route, it is just bard, bard, bard. I'm thinking bard wizard. I think everyone can agree with me there. I think that's where we're going with, but let's keep going. While held prisoner by Gratz in the plane of the abyss, she bore him many oh god, here we go. Quickly and securely placed them in various locations and protected their identities from any beings that could bring them harm. They were adopted. The Witch Queen was an enemy of the Nine Hells, owing partially to interesting ground. She had a closet familiar named Ygritte. At one point, she had 4 Arcanoloth apprentices. Oh, so now we're okay. Now we're at this point. Okay. Shovel. Yeah, everyone's shouting shovel. Yeah, no, I don't. I read that and I immediately like grossed out a bit. I'm the same as you, Joshua. Hi, Shane. We're talking about Tasha, or Igwilv. So, you know Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, the D&D book? This is the character in the lore who was credited with writing that book, so it's turning out to be a bit of an adventure learning about this one. Okay, so people are saying shovel, fork, or spoon, or whatever you decide to call them. Okay, Quasit familiar, sure. Quasit familiar. Cool. She was the adopted daughter of Baba Yaga. Do I dare click this one? Because I know this one can sometimes be a bit... Okay, that's fairly tame. Let's not click on the older editions, because we know what those tend to be like. Mage and Archfey. Right, so this is where the Archfey stuff is probably coming in for people, but I don't know. The Archfey sorceress known across the plains as the mother of all witches. She had 3 adoptive sisters that together formed the Hourglass Coven. Barlow of Brightstraw, and Endelyn Moongrave. No, I know Baba Yaga. It's just some of the depictions I've seen of Baba Yaga have been less than... Well, in some media, she's depicted as being different. Tasha's adoptive parents, the spell. You get to inflict a debuff to intelligence and wisdom and charisma saving throws because you make the target of the spell briefly think that they're adopted and it makes them somewhat depressed. Ouch. Maybe I shouldn't have gone there. Yeah, I think the Necromancy of Fae is definitely something you want to get. Fae, I should say. I pronounced it with the F sound. It's definitely something you want to get throughout your playthrough as like kind of a fun side quest goal. I'll definitely mention it in the video for sure. Permanent con debuff. John Wick adopted Tasha. Oh my god. Now imagine that fan art. She's just like little kid Tasha with like John Wick as her dad. That would be funny. Keanu Reeves. That's how they learn about Saz-Tam, the Fae. Yes, exactly. Exactly. See, it all comes together. For centuries, she was aided by a dwarven clerk named Ilimanzaros. I'm surprised I pronounced that. Who remained unfailingly loyal throughout their many years together. Oh god, he was the third wheel. Oh no. During her time in the Feywild, Igwilf garnered the aid of a high elf, Razel Uthma, who spied on the other Fey courts on her behalf. As Albina, she was able to sponsor at least 2 warlocks. The Amenal Old Warlock... Oh, wait. She actually sponsored a warlock. Okay, well, I know what a warlock is, but what kind of warlock were they? What kind of warlock were they? They don't specify. What warlock? Fiend? Archfey? Shit. Have I done a Carsus patron build? No. Putting Carsus on the list, though. For another time. That would be good. Yeah. Let's actually look at the name. That's looking Archfey to me. Wait. Oh, no. Is this... Oh, never mind. This is Critical Role stuff, isn't it? Is this Critical Role stuff? Why is Critical Role stuff on the wiki? That's not what should be on the wiki. That should not be on the wiki. No. Yeah, no, okay, so now I'm having an issue. This should not be on this page. Because this is like fan-on stuff at that point. Isn't it? Oh no, the Wild Beyond Witchlight. Oh no. Oh, I apologize. I thought this was something that I was thinking of something that was named differently. My apologies. No, this is actually an official book. No, I will shut up. Forget everything I just said. This is an actual book, not... I saw... What am I thinking of? What's the, like, YouTuber created one that's something Witchlight? What am I thinking of? I apologize. Ignore me. That was me being totally wrong, and I should not be so openly critical right at the start. Yeah, no, it is an official adventure. Right, let's actually look at this properly this time. My apologies to the fan on wiki, guys. Oh, I'm sorry. Here we go. He's on 5e tools. Let's have a look. No, this is the whole adventure. I don't want the whole adventure. I just want to know what type of warlock this dude is. Let's have a look at this. He's in World Anvil. Archfey. It's an Archfey warlock. Shit, that throws a wrench into my plans. Legends of Evantris. Thank you, David. Those guys are funny as hell, and that's probably why it already came to my mind. Shit, are we going to need an Archfey in this? Thinking of Once Upon a Witchlight. Yep, so Legends of Evantris, guys. Yep. And she is an Archfey as well, so maybe we need a dip into Archfey just to get the Charm and Frighten effects, get the Warlock dialogue. We'd get a level 1 spell slot that comes back on a short rest, which could be nice, actually. Some extra cantrips, like Booming Blade. We'd also get the Charm Person spell that way as well. So I'm thinking Lawbard 10, Archfey 1, Wizard 1. Yeah. We wouldn't be losing much. We'd be losing a Wizard subclass, which would kind of suck. But in which case I would probably go Transmutation because of the Cauldron. But I feel like you kind of need the Archfey Warlock in there. Is Druid Bard 2 ability score dependent? No, not really. Gloves of decks exist. Yeah, that'll have to be something we probably come to a consensus on. Let's just quickly finish reading the page, because we've been on this for a little bit. History. This is just a short little thing. I can't tell you how many times I burned everything to the ground and started over. Ooh. Oh, we could have just scrolled down on the bloody page and figured it out. Adopted by the witch Baba Yaga, at which time she was known as Natasha the Dark. She became later known as Tasha before adopting her alias of Igwilv, although she was not clear where any of those were her original name. It was at that early point that she was credited with inventing the Tasha's hideous laughter spell, at what point she moved to Niflheim. Okay, so she just went there. You know, just has a nice summer cottage in fucking Niflheim. Of course she did. Sometime later, Igwilv settled into the Abyss and immersed herself in the study of demon summoning and lore regarding demonic spirits. She sought to garner more powerful herself, but made many enemies among the chaotic fiends, and fled to worlds beyond for her safety. Eventually, she moved to her own domain of delight, known as Prismea in the Feywild, which she ruled from the Palace of Heart's Desire in the guise of Sibylna. Over time, she transformed into a Fey being and refocused her studies on the newfound state of existence rather than demonology. She was eventually betrayed by the 3 daughters of Baba Yaga and her cronies in the League of Malevolence, who used the magic of her personal cauldron to freeze in time the Witch Queen and many of her palace's other inhabitants. Oh, so she's actually currently frozen in time. Ooh, that could be a fun, like, homebrew game. Like, you have to free Tasha from her time prison. That could be cool. Oh, no worries, Joshua. I'm glad you like my builds. There is someone on the Discord right now who is actually playing through... I think it's Phantom, isn't it? Phantom Orochi? Who's playing Honor Mode with the Dance Revilers try right now. And I am really interested to see how that goes, because he's in Act 3. Because I never know if any of my builds would actually take Honor Mode on properly, but it seems like the Dancer might. And if the build I'm most proud of can even work in Honor Mode, I'll be so happy. Yeah, Haste and Slow. Yeah, oh, absolutely we can grab Haste and Slow on this build. Yeah, it's Orochi. Yeah, exactly. Right. I think we've got a pretty decent checklist. Let's go over it. We want Fiend Summoning, Teleportation, some form of Necromancy. We want Command over the Fae, so Planar Binding is going to do a lot of that for us. A Greatsword, the Necromancy of Fae, which I'll talk about in the video. Blink, obviously Tasha's Hideous Laughter, Planar Binding, like I said. We want the Charm Person and Command spells. We want the Banishment spell. We decided to go with Enlarge, Reduce, and Odalux if we can. However, I would say that's kind of a lesser thing. We need an Acid spell for Caustic Bruce. That's probably going to be Mil's Acid Arrow. And we want Haste and Slow and the Quasit Familiar. So we've got a lot of stuff to go on there. Let's actually look at the classes that we could potentially be going with. So I'm thinking a lot of everyone has basically already decided Lore Bard has got to be included in some capacity. I would personally go all the way to Lore Bard 10. I think that will give us a lot to work with, personally. Because it's going to give us level 10 magical secrets. We would get the level 6 magical secrets from Lore Bard as well. It would give us access to Planar Binding, which we obviously want, as well as Hold Monster and Dominate Person, which I think also fit the build very well. Hold Monster especially. Like that Planar Binding, like keeping them still and making them do deals with you. We'd get the full, basically the full power of Bardic Inspiration, which would also be really, really nice to have. And again, since Tasha's spells, you know, like Hideous Laughter, Mind Whip are all about psychic stuff, having Cutting Words and Vicious Mockery does feel like it makes sense to me. We'd get things like Dimension Door, which is also something we want for the teleportation aspect. Confusion, Polymorph, they all feel really good. And then obviously, from the Magical Secrets list, we have a lot to work with. Obviously, Banishing Smite could definitely be a contender for the level 10 one, because again, we might be using the Greatsword, and that would give us a reason to use it properly. We've got, to be honest, Haste we could grab here as well. We could grab Haste and Slow from this list. This could be how we get those. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm thinking maybe Archfey and Wizard, because then we'd still have full level spell slots. Spiritual Weapon for summoning the Greatsword could also work. However, we might not need to take it here, as there is a staff that could do that as well, but I think we'd need to have that equipped. Okay. Greatsword is hard to implement. Not with Pact of the Blade. Oh, no, we're not going that high in Warlock. Sorry, I'm an idiot. Never mind, I'll shut my mouth. Yeah, the Greatsword's going to be hard to implement. You are correct. We might not be able to. We might have to do something else. Spiritual Weapon, then, may be a good idea. We could grab that staff that summons the Spiritual Weapon at level 6. But it's not a Greatsword, though. I think that's forced to be a Great Axe, isn't it? Is it a Quarterstaff that does that, or am I stupid? A follower of Tasha's might experiment with Illithid powers? Yeah, that's true, but that could be something that someone could choose to do in their playthrough. Swordmaster Gloves would give you the proficiency? That's true. Is it possible for Ball to be a patron? Oh, Shane, we have a few Dark Urge builds, but my favorite one for an actual patron of Bull is... Hang on. Let me see if I can find it. Not the Shadow of Bull. This one. This one is by far... I'm sorry for the flashbang there. Oh, okay, Jesus. Yeah, this one by far is my favorite Bull build that I've made. The idea of using, like, Orin's kind of changeling nature as inspiration, going for Moon Druid, using the Slayer form as well, and also getting Displacer Beast shape from the Illithid powers and all of this stuff here, I think this is, in my personal opinion, one of the better Bull builds that I've done, and is my personal favorite. I think you can get a lot out of this. It takes a bit to get working properly, but it does work. So I would recommend giving it a try. Githyanki get access to Greatswords? Yes, you could technically do it through a Githyanki. But I don't think a Githyanki would be this one. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think this is probably my favorite Bull build that I've done, for sure. A little bit of Bard in there as well for some extra stuff. Yeah, you got a lot to work with here. Like, kind of like a changeling shapeshifter type deal. With Disguise Self for the checks, with the Shapeshifter's Boon Ring, Wild Shape, and I believe the Wild Shape features also work with the Slayer form, so it's worth having as well. So yeah, that would be my personal choice, if you wanted to know. But yeah, people are thinking 1 level dip of Wizard, because while I would like Transmutation for the flavor, it's not necessary. Enchantment would make sense. Conjuration would make sense for the Conjuration spells from scrolls and such like that, because we probably will be doing that. But I think most people would be in agreement with Lawbard 10, Archfey 1, Wizard 1. Are we good on that? Do we actually even need Wizard if we go Bard? Yes, because there are certain spell scrolls that we want to scribe, namely the Summon Diva spell, as well as a few others. I think I could see, you know, like the special scrolls like Dethrone and, oh, what's the other one called? The upgraded magic missile. You know the one. No worries, Shame. Lawbard 10 gives us all the spells. Yeah. Maybe we'll drop the Greatsword idea. We'll see. We'll see how we feel. Tasha's official 5e stat block has no Greatsword. Okay, we're going to leave the Greatsword behind then. It's not necessary. We'll leave the Greatsword behind. You could learn Misty Step so that you don't have to waste a magical secret slot. Yeah, exactly. Like, there are a few scrolls you could pick up in your playthrough that would be really, really helpful. The Skull one, yeah. Artistry of War. That was it, Dex. I just remembered it. Bard gives us all one-handed swords, so just use another sword. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you could, but oh yeah, because we're going to want to stick with the Infernal Rapier anyway, so I actually don't know why the Greatsword was even in contention, so yeah. That necklace slot is going to be tough? Maybe. But let's just figure this out on the side of the class spread. Are we all agreed? Lawbard 10, Archfey 1, Wizard 1. We all agreed with that. Spiritual weapon works on stage. No, okay, so what spiritual weapon is? Hold on. Spiritual weapon summons a spectral weapon. There is the Harper's Sacred Striker, which allows you to use it as a level 6 spell, so the highest possible version. We could use that to summon a Spectral Greatsword, which could be flavored as Tasha's Greatsword being summoned and animated. That could actually be really goddamn cool. I really like the idea of that. Because then we'd still get the Greatsword, but in a new and unique way, right? Just saying. I like this quite a lot. I think we could totally take this as our way of getting the Greatsword. You need the closet? 3 Warlock? Nope. Shovel, baby! We just get Shovel. Or Fork, or Spoon, or whatever you guys want to call it. And it is a staff seldom used. Exactly. I'll see you later, Boko. Thanks for coming. I know it's Vorpal, but we're not getting the exact artifact that Tasha has locked away in her time-frozen thing. Oh god, yeah. Maybe that could be like the motivation for this character. Maybe that's like they've managed to connect with Tasha somehow across the planes, and like their goal is to eventually learn planar travel in order to go there and save her from the time freeze. Could be fun. Because I just think this is something that's not used nearly enough, and the fact that we could do it as a level 6 spell without having to use a spell slot just feels so good. Because for each, I think for, yeah, every second level it gains more hit points and more force damage. So at max level, it would be, what, like 3d8 That's pretty good. I mean, yeah, you can do that, Mine. It's fine. Well, you don't need Harper Ties just because that's the name of the weapon. Ah, I just realized something, actually. We're going to want to make sure that we multi-class either into Bard or Warlock last to make sure that our item and spell save DC is Charisma. Obviously, that's going to be our biggest stat. I just realized I'll have to be careful. Yeah. Another option could be Sethin, since it also gives reduce. Yes, but the version from Sethin only makes the Great Axe, which is obviously not what we want. Okay, so the caster's spell casting modifier is added to the damage and attack rolls. So if you're using a spiritual weapon and maybe you've done some multi-classing shenanigans, you might not have realized that... My voice is going. You might not have realized that... Oh my god, it's actually going. Ah! You might not have realized that you're actually using the wrong modifier for your attack and damage rolls. That might be why. Yeah. Warlock first to get the connection with Tasha right at the start? Yeah, probably. The magic is the main thing to me. Yes, but this is literally a magic greatsword. I think that's cool. Let me have this one. I think it's cool. I don't use spiritual weapon enough. Right. I think, because we're an hour and 10 minutes into this, and we've only focused on one character, I think we've got a pretty strong identity. We've got the leveling scheme, and we've got, like, the sort of main equipment for the build. Bard first does mean more proficiencies. That is true. We'll have to see. I'll figure out the exact specifics later on. So I think we're good on Tasha for now. I think I've got a good checklist, a strong identity. I can work out the rest myself, the exact specific extra equipment. So, I think we're good on Tasha for now. Shall we move on to the next one? I think we move on to the next one now. So, let me get the poll out. The straw poll. I just realized how that's going to be taken. Right, moving on. Not star poll. Oh, for God's sake, I cannot type. I've learned recently that, like, I fat finger half the keys on my keyboard. I cannot type. The amount of times I'll be playing something like Marvel Rivals or something, and I'll, like, fat finger my alt key. Like, because I don't normally play on keyboard and mouse, I usually use a controller for that, but, like, I will sometimes, if I'm, like, playing really hard, I'll accidentally push the thumbsticks down, which trigger the alt. It's really annoying. Does the build need Eldritch Invocations? No, not at all. I don't think so. But it's not really going to be an Eldritch Blast build, to be honest. Well, I've got a list. I have got a list. So we did Tasha. Going to take her off the list. Right, let's do Control Windows T. Jennifer. Who's next? We're about to find out. I'm putting up the same list that I did before, and we're going to go from there. Because we had some that we decided on last time, and I think we'll go for stuff from there. But I'll add the ones that have been mentioned today to the list. Oh, I don't even know. Hang on one second. No, okay, so what do you mean, Dex? Okay, so I can't judge you guys for being weird. However, because you guys are weird are the reasons why I automatically check everything I say all the time. Sorry, Self said that, not Dex. You guys are the reason I check every single thing that I say. Just saying. It's your fault. Right. Mephistopheles, right. I'll add those other ones that have been discussed to the list next time. Okay. These are your choices. Now what? There we go. Create the poll. Share the poll. Off you go. Boop. In the message. And look at the results. So while you guys are doing that, I might just go get a Kleenex because my nose is starting to block up now. I'll be back in a minute. Be good while I'm gone. Alright, who's winning? And again. Oh, there we go. Oh, Mephistopheles. Huh. That's... I want to say I'm surprised and not surprised at the same time. I thought you know who was going to do it, but... What have you guys been up to since I've been gone? Have you been playing nice? They've been playing BG3 of a group. Does your Discord have a group finding room? Yeah, LFG, I think it's called Let's Find Games. If you want to find games. Right. Oh no, of course, now we've gone back to a tie. Right, we'll give it a couple more minutes, and if we need a tiebreaker, we need a tiebreaker. Okay, so I'm noticing, like, obviously, like, kind of in a jokey way still, but with, like, do people actually still care about alignment in D&D? Genuine question. Is alignment even still relevant, or is it just a meme at this point? I kind of feel like it's just a meme at this point. I feel like it's a meme. Yesn't. Because I've never known a D&D character to actually stick to an alignment. Like, never. Because people make gameplay decisions and, like, fun stuff in the moment. I feel like nowadays, things like... Okay, maybe this goes to show that I'm a bad DM, but I think things like alignment and bonds, flaws, and that sort of thing are kind of just left over. I don't really worry about them. Like, I think they're good for people who are brand new to the idea of role-playing a character, because it gives them an idea of how to, like, think about making a character's identity and how to roleplay that. But I think for people who have played, like, tabletop games for more than, like a little while, honestly don't need that sort of thing anymore. I don't think alignment and all that sort of thing matters as much anymore. I feel like having a backstory for your character is good. And, like, if you write it out and, like, put time into it, then I don't feel like you need the alignments and such like that to really justify your character making decisions in the moment. Because in the end of the day, I feel like if someone tries to stick too hard to alignment, then it's too restricted, right? It is in need of a rework. I agree. I think a rework of the alignment system to be a bit more broad and less of a distinct category thing and more of maybe like a spectrum would work a bit better. Because obviously you got your good characters and your evil characters, but I think the bit in the middle of that is way more blurred, and I don't think anything is pure good and pure evil anymore. I do think, again, as a starting point for people who are new to role-playing games, it works. Otherwise, nah, I'm not really into it so much. That's the other thing. Everyone forgets about the inspiration system. You are right, Josh. I agree with that. Because, like... But the thing is, like, because nowadays inspiration has become more mechanical. Like, for example, in 2024 D&D, there are now subclass features and even racial features from human, which give you inspiration, which is now heroic inspiration, right? So, I don't know. It's weird. I think it's because we want add more moral ambiguity into our characters. Yes, exactly. And then if you wanted moral ambiguity for everybody, then you're obviously somewhere on the neutral alignment, right? Yeah, like it gives you a general idea, but I don't think it's as necessary anymore. Does protection from good/evil become mute? No, because protection from good and evil is then described as specific class types, right? Not class types, creature types. So, fae, fiends, and aberrations, and that sort of thing, right? The alignment spectrum isn't even really involved in that spell anymore. Like, don't get me wrong, I think the alignment system matters less for character creation and more for creature classification in something like the Monster Manual. That makes sense, because if I look at lawful evil or lawful neutral or whatever on a creature's stat block, then I immediately know how to use that creature in roleplay and combat right away. That is when it's good. I don't think it's good for character creation. I think it's good for the DM side of things when it comes to having to manage a wide array of creatures and NPCs, right? Then I think it's better. I don't think it's good for character creation, but I do think it's good for the DM side of things. 100%. I almost played around with the idea for my upcoming campaign that I'm working on, of messing around with a honor system, because I know there's like an honor stat in like the older editions of D&D that you can use as an optional rule, but I'd much rather play on the idea of like, rather than your character having a specific alignment, the world around you reacts to your deeds, which puts you on a spectrum of good to evil. So like, it's less about what your character intrinsically is, but more about how the world around them perceives them. Because in your mind, your character could be doing wholly good things, but the world around you perceives you as evil, in which case you are treated a certain way within the setting, right? It's kind of like Red Dead Redemption's honor system in a way. And that's where those morally ambiguous characters come in, right? Which is what everyone likes the most. So I think alignment should be less about what your character actually is, and more how the setting and the campaign it's as a wider view perceives your character within it. I think that's better. Like, and it wouldn't, and so I think rather than just having cold-hearted alignment in character creation, keep alignment for creature stat blocks and NPC stuff, but operate on more of like an extrinsic system for alignment with character creation rather than intrinsic, so it's more about how the world reacts to you. Anyways, rant, side tangent over. Yeah, just a guideline. Yeah, at the end of the day, nothing against people who actually want to use it, because obviously I wouldn't have anything against people, but like, I just think in terms of character creation, it's less relevant than it's ever has been. So, looks like you know who is the winner, because that's how I'm going to do this from now on. Let's have a look-see. Good God. This happened in the last stream. We go from really pretty woman character to horrifying monstrosity. Another thirst trap. Shut up, Isra. You may be thirsty for blood. Or souls, by the looks of it. The two genders. God damn it, you lot. Have a look at the older edition. Oh, that's a cool one. Honestly, 4th edition art goes hard. Like, look at this guy. I personally like this interpretation more than this, in a way. I don't know. I like the more, like, action-y shots, personally. That's just me. That one also is okay. It looks a bit gangly for me, though. He's gone from looking like a threatening, like, powerful creature to, hey guys, what's going on? I'm not really sure what you're doing over there. It looks kind of weird, but you know, I'm not gonna judge you. He looks mildly concerned about whatever's in the distance and like somewhat disgruntled. Like he's not exactly sure what's going on over there. He knows he doesn't like it, but he's also like not really gonna go over there and say something. Alright. Moving on. He looks like his name is Jim. Anyways. Let's... Yinaghu? That's not how that's pronounced. Yinogu. We're gonna go with Yinogu. I think that works. Yinogu was a demon lord and the chief being worshipped by gnolls. My apologies. Dedicated only to destruction, the ruler of ruin sought the collapse of civilization, and he would brutally butcher all who stood between him and his rabid slaughter. His demands are simple: kill, follow his commands, and you shall know blessings beyond your dreams. We're not saying Yeezy. Hi, Sophie. Yes, we've just done Tasha / Igwilv. Now we're doing Yinogu or You Know Who, as we've been joking. This is what... Is it Ye? This is what Ye thinks he is. This is what he actually is. Moving on. I don't want to talk about that guy anymore because I don't like him. Anyways. I wish there was a way that you could summon the hyena monsters, the gnolls. Yeah. But anyway, let's see what we can go with. Yinogu appeared as a gnoll-like creature, 12 to 14 feet tall, with a grinning skull-like face and a leer pair of burning emerald or amber eyes atop his seemingly emancipated form. A mangy yellow crest of fur reached from his head to his mid-back, with the only hair on his body being small scabby patches. The rest of his body was pale and grey, his leathery hide contrasting with his taut mane and a crest of blackened spines within it. His canine chest was armoured with a patchwork of discarded shields and breastplates held together with weighty chains, and decorated with the flayed skin of his enemies. He wielded a 3-headed flail in his paws. Somebody was having a real fun time writing this in, like, 2004. I'm sorry, but this guy reading this fucking description feels like those, like, images of skeletons that people put on those, like, t-shirts that say, like, bad to the bone or something. What species is this person gonna be? Don't know. Have to see what we feel. Yanoku's desires were savage in nature, wanting slaughter and destruction above all else. He took great pleasure in inflicting terror and sorrow before his victims' deaths, destroying treasured possessions and crushing their hopes. He despised civilization as if he were to conquer the other realms, abyssal or otherwise, and he would not attempt to rebuild their former structures. I just saw Halfling pop up in the bottom right of the screen. To the beast of butchery, the gnolls were both his instruments and his children, who he sought to use to bring his ideal world to fruition. Such as a world would be one of endless combat and brutality, where gnolls ruled supreme, and all other creatures would be either slaves or food. There's that word again, that word we all love. Ultimately, when the mortal world possessed one final champion, he would challenge them to battle, slay them, and preside victory in his version of paradise, a wasteland of decaying corpses in an absolutely ruined world. So he's the Mad Max patron. Okay. Despite his savage nature, Yanogu was not stupid, being capable of subtlety and trickery, but merely choosing not to use it in most circumstances. He is every single person playing a stealth game where the stealth is optional. He has actively encouraged the arrival of new species into his followers, recognizing the lack of his people's unity. Counting among the Lord of Sandbadry's favorite demons were Bulguras, Dretches, Hezarus, Mains, and especially more demons and Shasuvas. The fuck's a Shasuva? Oh, that's a Shasuva. Oh, God! Yeah, no! Goodbye! So go back to my... Oh, man, this is gonna be an interesting one. Right, let's see. Sorry, I was just checking, make sure the stream was still good. He's Shibiri with less fire? Yeah, may chaos take the world, I suppose. Despite being a relatively powerful Tanari lord, Yanogu, I actually said who accidentally, was not in the same league as entities like Orcus or Demogorgon, even in terms of strength or influence. He was incapable of arriving on the material plane of his own accord and required his fanatics to summon him in order to spread his taint. They had to use that. Despite this, he was capable of and willing to influence the material plane in order to further his agenda. He was remarkable amongst demon lords for his active influence on the material plane, mostly in the form of various types of omens. Shadow sorcerer? No, probably not. He would use various dreams, visions, and signs to guide his people, although his wavering commitment to specific groups at once and use of so many different methods would raise many false flags. Signs were noticed in blood trails, laughter without sources, winds, mental messages, and various other objects. Once Yanogu was allowed entry into the mortal realm, he typically went on a rampage, destroying any civilizations he encountered. Along his path of destruction, hyenas tended to follow, devouring the corpses of those that he killed until becoming bloated and immobile. Hyenas who consumed the corpses killed by Yanogu would be transformed into numerous demonic forms, and the most common of which were the gnolls, followed by Lacrota. Wait! I mean, obviously we knew the gnolls are in the early game, but we could actually make that how we become a patron. Like, we're kind of a normal dude to start, but then we encounter the gnolls in Act 1, and we get... Oh, where is it? The broken flail. It's actually a mace, isn't it? It's actually a mace. Yeah, we get the shattered flail, which drives us mad, which Yanogu launches onto... And that's how we become his patron. We don't have to be a gnoll. We just be someone who kind of was in the wrong place at the wrong time and was taken advantage of with like a mental vulnerability, right? That could be how it works. So we got a bit... Yeah, because it literally is about being driven mad. So Barbarian obviously would work. I would say, because of Yanogu's large stature, we could go with Giant Barbarian for just mad destruction and such like that, right? Just stomping on things, taking down buildings. We're like Godzilla, okay? Then, I think because of all this mental manipulation stuff that we got going on here, like messing with people and such like that, I almost want to lean into, again, maybe like some light spellcasting in a way, maybe a little bit stuff outside of combat. to, like, get these sorts of effects, maybe? I mean, I know I said Shadow Sorcerer, and that was kind of a half joke because we mentioned omens, but having the Hound of Ill Omen as a companion that is able to spread, like, that sort of thing could genuinely be cool, but I'm not going to lean into that too hard just yet. Wood Elf might be perfect for this? Maybe, we'll see. Is it time for Honey Badger, my beloved? I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, so... I'm just going to check... Oh, God. Yeah, they're, like, kind of monsters, yeah. He had the ability to grant his followers the ability to replicate his ability through rituals. Here we go. Giving his devoted the power to bestow corpses with abyssal energy and transform hyenas that consume them. The powers granted to his followers include raising fallen gnolls as skeletal witherling servants, and granting enchanted flails to his powerful Flind champions. Well, there you go, literally in the name. Even though his non-gnoll followers would take on gnoll-like aspects, becoming brutal, hunched, and with sharp fangs. He also created the Shasuva in order to protect his most powerful champions who appeared when a gnoll clan achieved great victory. So the Shasuva, again, being these hound-like beings. Okay, I know this is a bit of a meme. Hyena of Ill Omen. Yeah, this is what I'm thinking. I am almost thinking Shadow Sorcerer Barbarian actually fits. In a weird way, it fits. I'm kind of leaning into that. Whether we want to do Wild Heart or Giant, I don't know. We'll have to decide. Dwagar for the big boy magic? Yes, maybe we could go with a Dwagar with Enlarge and go from there. That could also work. Shadow Sorcerer could also work, in my opinion. Because you'd get, like, the Strength of the Grave feature, meaning that you just get back up while being downed. That could also be kind of cool. Okay. When put in direct combat situations, Yunogu did not bother with subtle tactics, instead wading directly into battle and hurling derogatory epithets at his enemies, almost as though he might attempt to pump himself up first. Do I need to get Vicious Mockery somehow? I don't know. So 6-6 split? Maybe. The insults he held at his opponents were rumored to be dangerous curses that he used to weaken his enemies. He showed heavy resistance to electricity, fire, and frost, and complete immunity to poisons and non-magical weaponry. Okay, well, we can get fire, frost, and electric resistance really easily. Right, let me start making this checklist. We need the checklist. So we want Destruction, if I could spell. We want Giant Barb Swashbuckler? Maybe. Omen Hound? Question mark. Vicious Mockery? Question mark. It's a shame that the Vicious Mockery from Swashbuckler... Oh my god, excuse me, I am so sorry. It's a shame that the Vicious Mockery from Swashbuckler is still considered a cantrip, so we can't use it while raging. It's not like an action. We want fire... Frost, fire, cold, lightning, poison, resistant. Okay. I like the fact that you had to specify Dex. Some way to cast Animate Dead? Yeah, because he does do a little bit of that. Maybe. Despite being able to conjure his mighty flail at will, he was just as likely to wade into battle with nothing but his fearsome fangs, as well as known for the ability of using fear and invisibility magic. There you go. I think whoever suggested Dwagar earlier was right on the money. I think that would work. Yeah, I think that works. And the fierce... Oh, they even used the BG3 icon. I suppose that makes sense.
So we'd need fear as well somehow, which we can get. We can get that really easily, because it's on some items. Okay. As well as bestial transformations. Oh, that makes me think Moon Druid. Crap, there's so much here. And it all works. But maybe not. Maybe not Druid. Maybe that's going too far. Strong sense of smell and sharp perception made him an expert and dangerous tracker. And last stream, people were saying he'd be boring in a clone of demo. Were people saying that? I don't remember. Nah, he's very different. He is very, very different. Yeah, Fear is on the Sorcerer spell list. Yeah, so if we decide we want to go with Sorcerer, that absolutely works. If placed in serious danger, he could teleport away in order to plot for another day or amass a force necessary later to take on revenge. Okay, so Misty Stone, teleportation. Everything can teleport. Everything can teleport. Gosh. Barb Ranger Bard. Good lord. Alright. At his leisure, Yanogu could summon to his hand a three-headed magical flail known as the Butcher. It was constructed from the thigh bone and torn flesh of an ancient god he slew, with three chains ending in rusty barbed heads. Those hit with more than one head of the flail could suffer from the mental confusion and paralysis, and it bled ichor when used in battle. Only when the Beast of Butchery held his flail would all of the powers of the three heads manifest. He would also will the chain to fly independently into battle when he himself tore his enemies to shreds. Okay. It had its layer of the Abyss. To others it was known as the Seeping Woods or the Death Dells. This is the 422nd layer of the Abyss, you know, that one specifically, no more, no less. Was covered in barren hills, great ravines, wide savannas with poisonous and parasite-filled waters, and sickly yellow forests. It served as his own personal hunting grounds where he would play with mortals in cruel hunting games. There was nearly no structures in his realm, being entirely devoid of civilization. It's literally like the most dangerous game type dude. Hi, Mina, you're back with soup. I hope it's good soup. Here's Super Beef for Zariel. He's the reason she snapped and decided to end the Blood War. Really? Okay, maybe we'll see that a bit in a minute. 6 miles from his lair of all predators became wasteful and savage, killing far more than required. Intelligent beings that spend an hour within this region might grow increasingly deranged. So yeah, madness obviously being a theme of the build. We can grab Crown of Madness as well. The longer sentient beings remain in the region, the more null-like they became, with mental changes including increased range, aging, bloodlust, and hatred of civilization. Yep, so definitely barbarians somewhere and somehow. Within the smoke-filled halls of his lair, he sat upon a throne of dismembered limbs of those who angered him. His lair was populated with gnolls, hyenas, and ghouls. Ooh, we got ghouls in here too. Oh, that's lovely. It was a place of blood and death from which he could exert a certain level of control. He could cause iron spikes to rise from the ground and impale those underneath him. Spike growth? Gosh, okay. Lair itself was a giant mobile fortress city, pulled by legions of interns and demonic creatures on hundreds of stone wheels. If he was to perish, the effects of his power on the local region will eventually fade in less than 10 days. He once took over the lair above his own, known most by the White Kingdom. After conquering it, however, he did not possess the resources required to hold dominion over it, forcing him to retreat back to his home lair. Despite leaving it, he still technically ruled it, even though his vassal Dorsin, the King of Ghouls. Okay. Create undead? Maybe. We might want the Crypt Lord ring on this one. Oathbreaker Paladin could work. Madness makes us break oath. Maybe. Palabarb? I don't know, I feel like there's so many different ways we could go about this. Though his ravenous hunger is claimed to be mindless compulsion, there is nothing mindless about the thorough insinuation of his presence in the world via his chosen gnolls. Okay. He was a patient of all knows, having earlier displaced Gorlek and commanded the servitude of ghouls through his subjugation of the demonic king of ghouls, Dorsin, a former ally of Orcus. He failed to strike back against Yanogu for his acquisition of one of his subjects. He was also the master of a massive mudskipper-like demon known as that. Oh, gods. Oh, ugh. Gross. The unique demon's near bottomless gullet and immunity to monitoring on Earth sticks made it the go-to pet for transporting himself to other planes across the Blood River. Despite disliking the gods of the giant pantheon and forbidding gnoll and giant interaction, he admired their immense strength and power. Right. Giant Barbarian is now off the table. It is off the table. There was a little bit of talk about it, but I think it's off the table now because he is deliberately banned from that interaction. So it sounds like Giant Barbarian is off the table. I think Dwagar's Enlarge can still work, but I actually think we need to stay away from Giant Barbarian. I'm glad I read this far down, because I was somewhat considering it. His stat block is PTSD maker. We could look at his stat block, actually. Hold on. No, not 4E tools, 5E. No, that's not what I want. This could be a dirge build, actually. Sylph. That could work. Flail. Force damage. He can cause the target to suffer one of the following conditions. Confusion. Take extra force damage. Paralyzasis. Okay. Push. Provide attack. Incite the pack, Iron Spike, Pack Rush. Okay. Got a lot of stuff going on here, big guy. God, I don't want to run this guy against my party. Wild Heart Tiger and Wolverine, yeah. Okay. Worshippers. God, there's so much on this guy, isn't there? Alright, he had worshippers mainly consisting of gnolls, although he accepted servants from all species known as fangs. Okay, name for the build, I guess. Possessed a personal honor guard of 66 gnolls that he could summon into battlefield to aid him, although this small legion was primarily for show. The Claws of Fury were his elite combat force. Oh, I want that name. Were comprised of extremely capable Gnoll warriors. He was also capable of calling upon various demons to serve his goals, including the Shasuva and Lakruda creatures completely loyal to his wishes. He also had ghoul worshippers, because it was being part of his doctrine of subjugation of the Ghoul King. It was the duty of his faithful to oppose the hordes of Gorlek and the entities of the giant pantheons. His servants were commanded to conduct live sacrifices in the wilderness regions of stone altars. The dress code of his shamans involved dark brown robes. Constant nagging need for intelligent flesh in the minds of his creations and devoted. Okay. Right. I think we've got everything. Do we want to lean into the animal aspect or the madness aspect? Why not both? Because we're going to get the madness aspect regardless. But if we wanted to have summoned creatures, there's also the... Give me 1 second. The Abyss Beckoners, which would make our summons really tough, but also potentially drive them mad. That could... These two together, we could go for that. I'm leaning into the... let's have a look here. The Barbarian Sorcerer split that we were talking about earlier. I think Wild Heart Barbarian obviously makes the most sense. It would just be depending on which Wild Heart we'd want to go for. Madness Sword? Oh, you mean the Blade of Oppressed Souls? Well, Well, this is a one-handed weapon. We could dual wield, I guess. Sorry, what are you guys in refer? What's amazing? What are we talking about? Sorry, I lost track of my train of thought for a second. I got distracted by something. Do we have the feats for this on a 6-6 split? That's the only problem. In which case, I can work that out. But do we need a 6-6 split, though? for extra attack, I guess. Maybe not if we're dual wielding. I'm not 100% decided yet. I know we're probably going to go for Barbarian for one of them. Let me just see the sword that you guys run about. It's this one, right? The Blade of Repressed Souls. Crowning Strike can apply Crown of Madness once per short rest, which obviously drives people mad. Apparently you can get 2? Huh. Apparently you can get 2. Interesting. You've returned from dinner and missed the entire build? No, you really haven't. You just missed the lore reading. We're kind of looking at stuff now. Barbarian 7 for Feral Instincts. First Tiger, second Wolverine. If we go Spore Druid, we can be an animal and also animate dead. That is true. That is true. Yeah, the maimed thing. Yeah. Flail really benefits from extra attacking Young who has no sword. Yeah, I'm not feeling the sword. I know people are like, oh, but it spreads madness. I'm not feeling it. I don't think it works. I think we could just work with this. Like I say, we can still spread madness in different ways. But yeah, I think... Because if we go here, madness condition... Hey! Here's a thing! It's inaccessible! Shit! Ah, okay. Never mind. Flail of Madness. Yeah, this is from the Flail of Dread Skulls. Ah, that's a shame. Damn. Yeah, this is all the stuff from Flint. Yeah, there's no way for the player to get this. Yes, it is. And then a Misty Step for teleportation. I feel like there's been a lot of barbarians lately. Kind of. In fact, has there been? Hold on. Because barbarian was one of my least built classes for a long time. If you guys remember the 200th build video kind of special where I listed off all the stats for the builds and like the class division. Has there been a lot of barbarians lately? There's this one, which was Goo, Warlock, and Barbarian. I'm not seeing many more. No. It's been a while. This one was Giant Barbarian. No, I don't think we've done a lot of barbarians lately, to be honest. It's one of my lesser used classes. Yeah. Hey, you guys voted for this one. Don't look at me. There's been a total of 2 bar builds since patch 8 released. Yeah, so, and before then there was not that many. Sorry. Oh, gosh. Yeah. It's, okay, that's one of the, like, I've said this before, but one of the weirdest things about what I do now is just being able to Google myself. It's so strange. But yeah, Madness. So this is technically different than what Crown of Madness applies? It is different. They're 2 different conditions. That's interesting. Okay. Because this is considered a charming effect, where I feel the other one isn't, right? No, it's not considered a charm effect. But it stacks with confusion. Okay. That's interesting. That's a little bit of technical stuff. Okay. Shattered Flail. Yeah, so I feel like we're definitely going with Wild Heart to some capacity. I could definitely see the Tiger Wolverine mix for sure. Yep, I know what you're talking about, Joshua. Although I could also see Wolfheart if we want to lean into the pack tactics type thing. which I feel like makes sense, and I never really use Wolfheart, so... Like, maybe if we think about this in the sense of how it's going to interact with the other party members in the group, maybe we do go for, like, a pack mentality, pack leader type thing, where we're all about being the leader of our pack, being that savage kind of group, you know what I mean? Maybe. Wolfheart with summoning undead? Maybe. Honey Badger is either really fitting or the complete opposite. If you're poisoned, frightened, or charmed at the start of your turn, you have a 50% chance to begin raging without expending a rage charge. Yeah, I see what you mean. You and nearby allies add your dexterity modifier to your stealth checks. Oh, no. Dashing grants you temporary HP equal to your barbarian level. Which is the one that gives you the dash as a bonus action? Isn't it Elk? If I'm remembering correctly. Which is the one that gives you dash as a bonus action? It is, right? It is Elk, right? Eagle. Eagle! Oh, okay. Yeah, oh, it is Eagle. It says it right there. Why Eagle? That's so weird. Elk gives more movement, but Eagle lets you dash. Right. Randomly going mad is very funny, especially if you are concentrating. Yeah, well, we won't be concentrating while raging anyway, so... Resistance to full damage, advantage on strength checks... Yeah, Eagle is fun. I used it for my, Dragoon build. Way back in the day. You can add your strength modifier to attack rolls against bleeding or poison targets. Gain proficiency in survival. I'm not really feeling too many of these, to be honest. Because eagles are known for their running. I mean, if you ever see, like, an eagle run, it is funny. They got, like, their little feet moving. I don't know why that makes me laugh. It's like he's moving at a very high speed. Like, this is the eagle. This is what that's from. I want to see him moving. I want to see him moving. There he goes, on a mission. When you cast dash as a bonus action. I don't know. I think Tiger or Wolverine are the only ones that do anything. Yeah. And then I could see a 5-7 split, or maybe a 5, a little bit of something else. I like the idea of having the Hound of Ill Omen, personally. Again, as part of having our pact. That, or... Beastmaster Ranger, but that just doesn't give us enough of anything, really, unfortunately. As much as I think, obviously, having that would make sense, I feel like the wolf is too removed from what we're actually trying to do. Druid 7 would get the spike growth from the Grasping Vine. Yeah, but it doesn't get us Fear, which is a specific ability that's listed that we need to have. Or Invisibility, which Dwagar could get us, but... Yeah, I've seen owls running before, Chloe. Lady, stop yelling at me. He just used dash. But, yeah. Magic. Of Dark. Strength of the Grave. Reaching 0. You gain 1 hit point instead of becoming downed. Darkness Shenanigans. Hound of Ill Omen. I don't know why I'm leaning into the Sorcerer thing. I think I latched onto the Omens thing a bit too hard. Fear could be items, yeah. Land, like you say, it does give us... Hameda's mace is the offhand. It sets strength real high and does poison damage. Yes, we could do that, but we would need dual wielder. There are several items for invisibility. Yeah, you get whole person, spike growth, ability. Level 4 spells as well. Dominate Beast, I think, would actually be pretty important for this build, wouldn't it? Which we can get from the Keepsake Ring. Nah, it's a shame that they put the hyenas and the gnolls in the game and then just didn't do anything with them beyond that small encounter in Act 1. I feel like there would have been a bit more to deal with. But the thing is like, BG3 is such a stacked game. And honestly, okay, this is going to sound controversial, I think, but the more I've played more BG3 over the years, the more I've come to accept this fact. I think BG3 spread itself too thin by dipping its toes into lots of little concepts, and then outside of a few of them, not really expanding on them that much. Which I can understand why, because they had so much they needed to get done. But it feels like some things got a lot of time and attention where others didn't. And then some things were kind of put in last minute and such like that. So I don't know, I feel like there would have been room to explore more interesting things, but I understand why that didn't happen at the same time. I mean, let's be honest, Halcyon as a companion was just added because of fan outcry, and then nothing was done with him beyond Act 2, right? That's just an example, but anyways. I mean, I don't know, I could see this. I just think there's so much we could get with this build, but... You really enjoyed Wildheart and Hexblade? Oh, I could see that, but I feel like having like the pack tactics with the ability for everyone to go mad, the Shattered Flail. I feel like there's something here with the Shattered Flail Abyss Beckoner's combination. We just have to figure out what. Well, obviously the Flail works. If we're going Barbarian, the Flail works. I could see a Barbarian with summoning using the Abyss Beckoners. I think the question is, how do we get the summoning? Necromancy of Thay? Maybe. That could get us some, but not all. The problem is a lot of the good summon spells are higher level. We can get a lot of them from items in some shape or form, but it is tricky. I would honestly just say, if you were running this build, pair it with 3 Moon Druids and just have packs of animals that way. You'd be able to summon more things from Spores Druid? Yeah, I know what you're saying. So if you have Spores Druid, you would get Animate Dead, Fungal Infestation. You'd get the Symbiotic Entity for the extra temporary HP, which with the Barbarian resistances could be very, very good. Confusion as well, which is like Madness. I could see it. I could see it. Also, most of the Spore Druid summons are immune to the Madness from the Abyss Beckoners. That is also true. Plus, by going into level 7 of Druid, you would also get Minor Elemental, Dominate Beast, Polymorph. I actually really like the idea of this character using Polymorph on an enemy to turn them into a sheep so that they can hunt them down. That's kind of fun. Confusion for more Madness. It's just we don't get Crown of Madness. We'd get Confusion, but we wouldn't get Crown of Madness, which is something I kind of want. We'd be able to get the resistances, obviously, that's not a problem. And I like the idea of the Wolf Pack, kind of like with the Wolf Wildheart. I really do like that. You gonna do any more Night Rain videos anytime soon? Hi, Ben. Yes. I plan to do Revenant and Wilder next. I have 2 very concrete ideas for how to do those builds. Blade singing wizard with a flail, fuck it. Everything's a blade singer, everything's a hex blade. That's patch 8, baby. that's D&D 5th edition, baby. Ever since frickin' Tasha's came out. Ah, true. Good point, Sylph. Good point. I agree with that. Hi, Andreas. What are we currently creating on this day? We are making a build based on this lovely bastard here. Yongu. Yenogu. You know who. Basically, leader of the Gnolls, pack tactics, a bit of summoning, actually animates the dead. Could be kind of cool. Okay, so the more I think about it, the more I like this Spores Druid idea. I do think it gets us a lot of what we want. I just think I need a little bit more from somewhere. Played Singer Barbarian. It's a shame. It's a shame that you can't use literally any spell other than like some reaction glitch bullshittery. Also known as Jim. we already did Goo Warlock though. We already did that. And I don't feel like this is a Warlock in the same way as like something like Demogorgon was. Yeah, exactly. We did Demogorgon already. I think Spores Druid gets us the most of what we want, as opposed to Sorcerer in this case. Hey, Phantom, we were just talking about you earlier. We were talking about the fact that you're actually using the Dancer in Honor mode. And I'm surprised it got that far. But no hyena. Well, no, we can't get a hyena anyway, which sucks ass. But I feel like in this case, I think we're more flavoring it of like Yenogu's madness is taking hold of us. We're not necessarily like a master of the Gnolls or the hyenas, but we imply that like kind of idea of that madness that's seeping into our mind, giving us like this pack tactic mentality, hence the Wild Heart Wolf plus Abyss Beckoners on our summons. We're mad, everyone else around us is mad, and we're just tearing through the world as this legion of insane bestial creatures. Again, partner this up with a Moon Druid, and maybe even a Beastmaster Ranger, or something like that, right? Hi JP, what's up? He is also surprisingly wise. Yeah, so wisdom makes sense, as opposed to maybe like intelligence and charisma. Just carry a hyena around for the rest of the game. Throw Tavern Brawler on the build and just yeet the hyena corpse at fucking everything. Was going to ask if it was possible to animate the hyenas from Act 1. Unfortunately, no. The only animate dead spell that we have only works on humanoids, unfortunately. Even our stats are mad. Not necessarily. A barbarian with wisdom isn't the craziest thing in the world, especially when things like the Enraging Heart Garb exists. We do need strength. Medium armor. If we were to wear medium armor, we actually wouldn't need con so much, or we wouldn't need dex so much, I should say. Con, we're going to want a little bit. Wisdom. We actually don't need a huge amount of wisdom, because the main thing we're focusing on here is the temporary HP we get from Symbiotic Entity. And maybe we want a little bit for confusion later on, but otherwise it's mostly about the summons and like maybe buffing spells that we get. Yeah, I knew you were going to do that, Dex. Fungal Infestation works on any creature. Does it now? Ah, target a beast or humanoid corpse. I didn't even catch that. Oh, shit. Well, yeah, I mean, that's basically sealed the deal, hasn't it? Yeah, I've noticed your comments, JP, and I've been looking at them. I look at everyone's comments, but when I say, like, I'm not on any social media except for YouTube, right? And basically, like, doom scrolling for me, like, the closest equivalent is looking through all the comments, and I kind of do just, like, read them, and I glaze over a lot of them. So I've seen a lot of requests, but remembering them half the time is hard on my mind. How did I not notice this? Yeah, it's a shame they still look like humans, but the idea of us being a more humanoid thing anyway, raising humanoid creatures from beasts rather than gnolls, kind of works. And I would say in terms of being a barbarian, Symbiotic Entity has the most synergy. I don't particularly care for the level 6 Wildheart Barbarian features here. So are we happy to decide on a 5-7 split here to get as much out of Symbiotic Entity as possible? Because again, the resistances we're going to get from Barbarian are going to feel pretty damn good paired with Symbiotic Entity, really helping us keep that HP. I agree with that. I think Wildheart Wolf 5, Spores Druid 7, absolutely. Sounds like everyone's in agreement. Yeah, we get the summons that we can rise from beasts. We're going to get a bunch of stuff. We're definitely going to be using the Shattered Flail as our weapon and the Abyss Beckoners so that we're all a bunch of crazy people. Absolutely. I could definitely see this build being paired with a Berserker Barbarian, a Moon Druid, and maybe a Beastmaster Ranger as well. I think that could be very, very, very fun in the end. But yeah, I think we've pretty much got it as far as that's concerned. Animal aspect, though, I just said I don't really care for any of the animal aspects on this build. I really, really don't. We're not going to be getting bleeding as much because we're not using the Tiger Wildheart, so I don't think Wolverine or Tiger or anything like that work. Honey Badger, it's too situational for me. Stallion would be great if we had a way of doing a bonus action dash, but unfortunately we don't with this build. Wolf, we don't really care about stealth checks. Yongu literally said as soon as combat breaks in even, like, breaks out, I should say. I can't find my words today. But he just doesn't even bother with stealth like that, so I just don't think it makes sense. Whereas I do want at least extra attack from Barbarian and a bit of the extra HP that we get from the hit die from that. I'm then going more into Spores Druid for the extra temporary HP on Symbiotic Entity, as well as being able to get Confusion at level 7 as the closest thing to Madness, as spreading Madness to others. But it could be a pick your favorite. There's room for a 1-level adjustment there, right? Spore Druid armor with the Befuddle effect helps spread more Madness too. That is true. Have you seen the Mysterious City in Night Rain yet? Yes, I have. I ended up in there in a random match for the first time last night, and I actually beat it with a couple of randoms. We managed to beat the boss and get the buff on the first try, which was really, really cool. Personal experience there, Dex. Yeah, okay. I'm happy with that spread. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with the key equipment that we're going to have. I can figure out the rest of it myself. So, I think we're good on that front for now. Yeah. Question is, do I have time? Do I have time for one more? No, it's a snack. It's instead of the snack that smiles back, it's a snack. It's a snack that bites back, like a pineapple. Because pineapple digests you back. I haven't. No, Ben. Did you? Where did you post that? I haven't seen it. Do I have time for one more? You know what? I think in less detail, maybe I do. I think I've got a little bit of extra time. So you know what? Because Mephistopheles was highly voted on the past couple of polls, shall we look into him a little bit now? That maybe if we don't finish the concept today, we can come back to it next time. How about that? I think I got time to do a little bit more. My god, my terrible Albert Wesker impression is coming out. That's how shot my voice is. 7 minutes. Anyways. Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that, JP, but I'm glad that you've been enjoying my videos. I have. I hope things turn around for you soon, because they will do. It just depends on when. Mephistopheles, sometimes shortened to Mephisto, and once under the name of Molkeroth, was the lord of Cania and the most powerful archdevil next to Asmodeus himself. Hell's greatest wizard was a walking contradiction. On the surface, cool and the calculating cold lord, and beneath the grandiose and hot-headed lord of hellfire. So a wizard with cold and fire magic? Shit, I did this one already. Check video sharing. I'll have a look at it, Ben. I'll have a look in a minute. After stream. I knew I smelled the tang of a goddess. This too I claim as mine. Oh god, he's already fucking creepy. Okay, this is the cover art for a metal band. Absolutely. Mephistopheles played up his infernal image as much as possible, intentionally appearing as the classic archetype of a diabolical devil. He was 9 feet tall and striking, his handsome visage yet charming yet unnerving smile of self-superiority contrasted by his more monstrous features. Fucking... There it is. That's just this whole vibe. Signature look of superiority. We're really busting out the beams today. Okay. His fiendish claws, bright crimson red skin, bat-like wings, and impressive curling ram horns all left his hellish heritage on proud display. Another source of contrast was his dead white eyes against his long, straight black hair, as well as his dramatic flowing cape as dark as the deepest void. Earlier reports of Mephistopheles claimed that he was once an image more befitting of Cania, and he had blue-black skin across his heavily muscled body. This is closer to what we have in-game from the Tieflings. Wings, horns, and claws a deep shade of blue, scales of sooty black, and eyes that were pale blue except for his red irises and pupils. Opens evil beings wiki page. There better not be any evil in here. Yeah, I know. When Mephistopheles was donning his Molkeroth persona, he appeared as an obese man whose gross levels of fatness were frankly absurd. Oh, it's this guy! We were looking at this guy on the last stream. I remember him now. Despite being only 7 foot tall, he was still massive because he was wider than he was long, competing with creatures like hill giants in terms of sheer mass. Even when the waddling baron was swathed in clothes made only from the most ridiculously expensive materials that were the all his floppish finery couldn't hide from his ultimately foolish appearance. Mephistopheles was a being of razor-sharp intellect, careful suspicion, and prodigious brilliance. A cunning genius with unparalleled understanding of hell's political dangers and the great capacity for patient deception. Foremost wizard of Baldur, his ordinary speech was like a whispering wind, and his cool, pleasant demeanor gave him an outward appearance of a princely gentleman. He came off as sophisticated and charming when he spoke, and an intellectual force of understated wit, reason, and self-restraint, an embodiment of the casually crafty aspect of hell's evil. You know fucking what? Give me a second. You know fucking what? Immediately what I thought of. Intelligence-based persuasion checks. with a wizard build, maybe. Let's have a look. However, this was by no means his ordinary behaviour, but a facade like Desparta's which disguised his true personality, a veneer of elegance as carefully crafted as his traditionally infernal appearance. Despite his courteous persona, Mephistopheles was an unstable individual on the inside, the contrast between his cold surface and a fiery core a perfect example of his existence as a walking contradiction. He was a vicious being with an outrageous temper, who, when left alone in his palace, frequently flew into violent rages, his quick wit burning away when he met his underlying hate and frustration. Is this really going to be another barbarian? In his shrieking fits of terrible wrath, he would start tearing at his own skin and destroying his surroundings in an explosive outbursts of fiery magical destruction. His unpredictable eruptions of rage have been his undoing multiple times in the past. Although his conniving intelligence was certainly real, Mephistopheles was an emotional entity that was ultimately driven by his passions. I don't want to do a barbarian. You don't have to be a barbarian to be angry. We could just be a very angry wizard. We're not doing another barbarian. We're not doing another barbarian. I flat out refuse. No. The other one, it made sense. Not really so much this time. You don't have to be a barbarian to be an insane madman. Mephistopheles suffered no distractions from his focus, his studious pursuits being the utmost important to him. Though he would entertain visitors purely for his own amusement and rarity among archdevils, he hated any unwanted distractions and rarely gave time to anything not worth his personal attention. He was known for disintegrating underlings for the slightest annoyance. Maybe need to disintegrate them. Only allowing a few devils to speak without being spoken to, and sometimes executed his servitors based on the suspicion that they would bother him. Further cementing him as a contradictory entity was the strong but flickering nature of his focus. Mephistopheles' great intelligence often ended up mixing with his obsessiveness. As the pursuit of knowledge, he became fascinated with the most minor details. Though this allowed him to delve deeper into the topics than typical wizards, his unrelenting focus had to be tempered by his responsibilities, and was ultimately undermined by his mercurial behavior. When forced by some political circumstance to stop what he was doing, there was a chance upon returning that some new project would catch his eye, at which point his research would become his new top priority. So I feel like I'm going to be like this is going to be awful for me to say, but this honestly sounds like, again, as somebody who works with people with special education children, this sounds like ADHD in a weird way. Like the hyperfixations and then moving on to something else without finishing it. That it kind of is. Not so much this part, but this... That's an interesting way of viewing this character. Like... Huh, weird. Because of this cycle of undivided attention followed by casual neglect, Mephistopheles had many useful discoveries ready to be assessed that he simply didn't know about. So just build me. Pride. While his anger and neurotic tendencies were weaknesses for which he could either hide or use to his advantage, his most damaging issues were his rampant, unchecked megalomania and recklessness in the pursuit of power. Though he'd hate to be compared to Basilbul, like a Bulls. Both archdevils seemed incapable of being content and compulsively overextended themselves. Other dudes' plans collapsing under the weight of his unrealistic expectations, and this guy's becoming so absorbed in his plans that he ignored his overall well-being. Yeah, his manifestation agreed, however, was somewhat the opposite of that of the Lord of Lies, who he hid goals through skillfully woven deception. Since Mephistopheles' execution of wicked plots was always extreme and dramatic, his brazen ambition almost glorious in its nakedness. I'm going to cough. See you later, Shane. Thanks for joining. Wild Magic Sorcerer dip, maybe? Could be fun. Mephistopheles was perhaps the most entitled of the Archdevils, an avatar of envy who reenacted the fact that he was merely the second most powerful Archdevil. You know, second place. Not always the worst thing. Always jealous of others, he couldn't get enough prestige, wondering where his awards were when another was rewarded for service. Okay, so he was just a jealous type. He was a being without mercy and reportedly harbored great hatred for Asmodeus. While the Archdevil, since being cruel, wasn't... Okay, so yeah, this is basically a lot of just kind of similar stuff here. Okay. You lost Wi-Fi for a minute? Oh no. If you're not first, you're last. Yeah, he's one of those types. Oh god, he's on the fucking Sigma male grind set or something. Oh god, no, no! Are we about to have... Like, this is about to be the weirdest build I've ever done, isn't it? Oh god. Powers. He was a being impervious to the cold, not just due to having ruthlessly exposed himself to the coldest temperatures, but because of his unrivaled mastery of Hellfire. A corrupt and extremely potent energy with the properties of flame, Hellfire was unimaginably hot, and created by tapping into mastering the profane essence of Hell and channeling it into a usable form of power. Unless he chose to repress it, his body would emanate dark flames, causing anyone who touched him, or anyone near by, if he invoked into a burst around him, to be scorched by an unholy energy. Right, we're starting the checklist. Let me start the checklist. Give me a second. Mephistopheles. Boom. So I'm thinking we need Fire Shield for sure. I like the idea of having the pointy hat for persuasion using the intelligence. I do think we want this to be an intelligence-based build. I think that would make the most sense. I like the idea of this being an intelligence build. Personally. So I think I'd want to go with that. Are the methods named for him? Possibly, actually. Even weirder than Sharess. Sharess was weird because it was sex stuff. This is not sex stuff. This is like the absence of sex stuff. To put it that way. But Hellfire. We could possibly get Hellfire stuff. 8 on everything but int and dex. That's not even actually possible with the stat spread. The only way to get Hellfire is with the Hellflame Cleaver. Yeah, I was literally just thinking about that. There are a few problems that cannot be solved through the application of overwhelming arcane firepower. Well, if that doesn't scream Evocation Wizard, I don't know what does. Fire Sorcerer, but that's Draconic? You can get rid of the Draconic aspect. But again, he is also known for cold stuff. To further his mastery of fire, Mephistopheles took up the study of wizardry, specializing in evocation magic modified to taint his foes with the foulest evil. He's literally an evocation wizard. With a noticeable disinterest in enchantment and illusions, literally the opposite of the stuff we've been working on so far. Given the nature of Baztezu politics, I probably didn't pronounce that correctly, Mephistopheles rarely traveled alone, often bringing 2 bodyguards with him anywhere he went, and was able to summon a few Gelagons or Pit Fiends. I literally see this as conjuring minor elementals, summoning the Ice Mephits, 2 bodyguards. I'm going to put that on the checklist. Just chuck a fireball. Anyway, he went to summon a few often choosing the latter, while accompanying servitors kept the enemy busy. Given his sense of self-importance, he believed anyone who dared attack him to deserve no less than utter obliteration, hence why I would use Fire Shield, maybe Armor of Agathis on top of that, if we could get that as well. I think Armor of Agathis would make sense. Just Hellish Rebuke, I also want on this build as well. Again, like, the whole idea being, you attack me, it's gonna be a problem for you. What if we said 4 levels of incest? Is that a class or a subclass? In which case, what's it a subclass for? Characters named Chuck Fireball. I see what you're saying, Prophetic, but we literally just made a sports druid. I could see... What is this music? Is this Nintendo stuff? Okay. Changed videos from when I had it before. Yeah. But anyways. Moving back to what we were talking about. Male human wizard cleric? Why cleric? Wait, what? You know what? I don't actually want to delve into that too much further. Never mind. So he let loose a barrage of he believed anyone who dared attack himself no less than utter obliteration, so he'd let loose a barrage of offensive magical destruction from the rear of fight, teleporting away and leaving his allies to meet their fate if there was a real threat. Again with the teleporting! Everything can teleport. Okay, but this... Okay, so literally, though, looking at this from a build perspective, this dude is the most stereotypical evocation wizard to ever exist. Just chuck magic at it until it dies, teleport away, and let the frontliners deal with any actual threats. Literally the most stereotypical evocation wizard you could ever meet in your entire bloody life. But lacking the most powerful spells as a wizard, Mephistopheles' innate spellcasting abilities more than made up for it. He could cast all sorts of ice and fire-related spells, showcasing his mastery of both elements, such as Cone of Cold, Fireball, and Wall of Ice or Fire, Meteor Swarm being his most powerful, and the one that he could only use once per day. He was also capable of inducing fear, either through aura or his gaze. So, yeah, all of the cold and magic spells... The problem is I just did this build, basically, except it was a Blade Singer instead of evocation. I feel like I've done this build already, which kind of sucks. Yeah, evocation kind of... I mean, I could see this as... Like, people are saying this could be a Gale build. I do see it. I just feel like I've done this before so many times. Like, genuinely, hold on. No, it's weird looking at my own channel, but give me a second. Yeah, Song of Frost and Flame, 2 weeks ago, just did that. Knight of the Immortal Flame, fire and ice attacks. The Hellfire Pyromancer, also used fire and ice attacks. What else? Not so much the rest, I suppose, but... The Omnimancer, which was for Kareska way back when. I just feel like I've done this so many times. Conic Warrior. I'm still kind of proud of that thumbnail, actually. Yeah, I don't know. No, he deliberately has a disinterest in enchantment and such, so... Favorite weapon was a 3-tinned military fork. He was known to have different types, just one that could switch between inflicting fire, cold, and electricity, each 3 times a day. And then was switched between burning eternally and being covered in frost, and allowed the wielder to focus on hellfire spells, to be more devastating. Aside from that and other magical items, the laboratories, his home and citadel were filled with spell books, containing nearly every known arcane spell, allowing him to prepare almost any that he pleased. A trident in the offhand could be interesting, or in the main hand, just... yeah. I've done John Wick before, Joshua. I've considered Captain America before, but unfortunately the shield that returns to you when thrown is cut content. You need mods to access it. Sub-Zero, I've not explicitly done before, but I've done builds similar to it. Like, don't get me wrong, this build, this character is interesting, but I feel like, Lord, there's a lot. But I feel like in the sense of, like, making a build that's most on theme for the patron itself, I've just done it already. More than once. I might have been. I can't remember. You might have to repost it or link it to me again. But I do just feel like I've done this already. The only interesting thing I think that would maybe somewhat separate this build would be having, like finding as many different ways to use intelligence in an interesting way. God, this music has gotten loud all of a sudden. Why? Why can't I just have good music? You know, let's throw in something else. Skyrim ambience, why not? Oh god, my PC is having a very funny 5 minutes. Let me just check and make sure the stream is okay. Oh shit, yeah, the stream dropped a ton of frames. Something's going on with my internet. Why? Never mind. Right, circling back to the topic at hand. Death Cleric plus Sorcerer plus Druid using a mix of Necrotic and Ice spells. Oh, okay. Could be interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling this build. Just because I feel like it is so close to something I've done already. Like, again, I like the idea of trying to use our intelligence for different things, but the pointy hat being, like, the main way of doing that, also being an Act 3 item, kinda sucks. Yeah, I'm... As much as I hate to do it, I've seen a few people suggest it. Do we just scrap this one? Like, don't get me wrong, I understand he's a popular patron, but I feel like I have a number of builds that kind of already fit this vibe. And I just don't think it would be a very fun video to do. I think we could focus our time into more interesting concepts. Don't get me wrong, it's nothing against this character overall, because I do think they are interesting, and obviously they're a huge part of D&D lore. But I think for the sake of the fact that we have done this build so many times, in essence, I just don't think it's worth it. I would almost be interested in maybe sometime in the future revisiting this, less as a maybe like a full wizard, maybe a fire and ice based eldritch knight who's got some more combat potential, maybe to kind of go on about like the outrage. But honestly, that also doesn't feel right now that I've just said it out loud. So I'm happy to just leave this one. No worries, Mirror, don't worry about it. So I'm thinking we put Mephistopheles on the back burner, maybe giving some more time between my other Fire and Ice builds, and maybe I'll find a way to do this concept in a more interesting sort of way. How about that? How about that? How about we put this one on the back burner, and maybe if there's a way to reintroduce it in the future that's more interesting, we come back to it. Maybe I'll come back to him and make a build inspired by him with mods, like you say. I think that's fine. Ha, back burner. God fucking damn it. Scrap. Scrap. For now. Revisit later. I'm glad we... Okay, so I'm glad we spent a little bit of time on this now, then, rather than at the start of the next stream, where we actually wanted to take things a bit more seriously, because it would have sucked going into the next stream and then being like, oh, wow, this doesn't feel good to do. So I'm glad we kind of used this extra time on the end of this stream now to do that. I think that was a good call to extend the stream a little bit and discuss this now. Yeah, maybe we'll explore the concept further next time. Just not now, not when I've accidentally already did this build. Right. Alright, so as much as that is kind of a disappointing end, I think I will end stream here, just because I got some other stuff I need to do today. I will be appearing on a D&D stream a bit later. Today I will be on Red and Luna's like Sunday streams. So if you guys know, I mean, obviously most of you will know Red. Luna was the player in some of my other one-shots that I've run, and she's currently running a campaign that I am on and off again a part of. So I will be around a bit later. If you go check out my friend's streams, you'll see me there as part of a D&D game where I play a talking dog. For how long I continue to play a talking dog, I don't know, because there's been talks of character death. Have you ever thought about a Ganondorf build? Yep. Yes, I have. All right. There he is, in all his glory? Question mark. Technically, this build is modded, though. I decided to use Celestial Warlock for the, you know, the connection to the Triforce and the light stuff. So maybe this is a bit out of date by today's standards, but it works. What are you talking about? Dogs don't die in media? We'll see. He bought the receipts. No, I have a very, like, this is the issue that I'm having now, right? Like, let's be real. Again, I'm going back to my own YouTube channel. This is how I'm going to end the stream. This is the issue that I have now, right? Like, I've done so many. 353 videos, so that's including live streams and regular videos. The build playlist is now how long? It's built to 43. Yeah, 263 build videos on the build playlist. Other stuff mixed in here and there for live streams. It's getting to the point now. Oh, why is it just opened up my own stream? That's weird. Old title, don't worry about it. I don't know why that came up. I think that was like from when I made like my original YouTube account when I was like 13. Ignore it. I don't know why that's the URL. That's so weird. But anyways, let's ignore that. But anyways, like, I've done everything almost. Like, nowadays, if people say like, oh, have you tried this build concept, or have you thought about making a build about X character? The likelihood is that I have made a build somewhere on this channel that fits what someone is looking for. I've kind of done everything. Not 100% everything, now especially the patch 8 is out, I should say. But I have done so much that it all just blurs together. Okay, Shulk from Xenoblade. That is a spell sword. Like, I don't know much about Xenoblade off the top of my head, but I think about like the Smash Brothers thing. Like, he's got the 5 forms. Spell sword type deal with 5 forms, or like a fighter with 5 like different like buffs that they can apply. Like, I've probably got something similar. I think it is time for a new video game, which is why I'm looking at this, right? Eventually, I plan to live stream the demo of this, like I've been saying, once I can get my computer actually working with it. I genuinely think this could be where I go next. Right? I know you're saying, okay, Wrath of the Righteous, right? So I've streamed Wrath of the Righteous before. But I'm just going to say this now. Was not as much of a fan. I played it up on streams and such like that, but I honestly was not that much of a fan of the Pathfinder system. Right? But that's just my personal thing. But this is where, like, I've mentioned this a bunch of times, this is where I'm thinking of going next. Because I think this will be the best next step. It's another D&D game with tabletop aspects and such like that. I own the original game. So I think this would be the best way to go. Because if you look at this stream here, look, this gameplay video, it is very, very similar to BG3 and like D&D in those terms, right? You got all the usual stuff, the usual MacGuffins. I think this could be where my build videos will go next. But who knows? Like I say, I've got the demo on my PC. I will play this on stream at some point. But yeah, this is where I'm leaning towards. And I may even look at the original game. So we'll see. We will see. Because I liked the original game. I just never finished it because BG3 came out as I was playing through Solasta. And then, of course, BG3 took over literally half my entire life. So it did get a bit out of hand. I may have gone overboard in a few places. But I would be down to looking more into the original game just to get an idea of how that's going to play out in a way. And then maybe move on to Solasta 2 later on. Will you play the Warhammer 40k RPGs? Maybe at some point. I'm not as into Warhammer as some other people, right? But I don't know. I'm trying to think of like the direction to take this channel in the future. Do I go for putting my fingers in a bunch of different pots? The problem is though, is like Wrath of the Righteous, let's say for example, has been out for a while. Anything that's been done with that game has probably been done already, whereas I jumped on BG3 as it came out. And the thing is, with being a content creator on this platform, you kind of do have to stay on the modern trends, which luckily for me, because of BG3's updates, has stayed a trend for a while. But that is changing. So if I really want to keep this channel going, I do have to think of something new. And to be honest, for my own sanity, I've got to do something new. So I'm thinking I'm going to lean into Solasta 2 as being maybe the next thing when it comes out. I might look into Solasta 1, maybe not for videos, but like for a playthrough, like maybe a stream thing or something if I do get some extra time in the future. I don't know. We'll have to see. Warhammer is a very different beast in terms of what I do. Like, Warhammer games. Because you got, like, Space Marine 2. What's the new one that came out that everyone was talking about? It was, what was the new one that came out? Darktide, that was it, right? Was Darktide the new one? Yeah, I mean, this is a very different thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love to tackle... the thing is I would love to bridge the gap between BG3 and Solasta with actual tabletop stuff, but that is such an oversaturated market right now in terms of content creation online. Like, if I was to do D&D builds, for example, I mean, what am I doing that's better or different than D4 or Dungeon Dudes and stuff like that, right? If I was to tackle, like, you know, other stuff, like, it's hard to say. The problem is my channel has fallen into a pretty big trap, right? Where I am now working, like, basically, I have carved out this small niche for myself, and I built that community, but that's not going to last forever, so I need to adapt and change. But the problem is that I'm so limited in range for what I adapt and change to, because a lot of the bases that I could go, the avenues I could go down have been covered already, where I don't really have much of a niche in that aspect, whereas BG3 was slightly different. So that's why I'm kind of leaning into Solasta 2 as being the next thing, right? Well, I appreciate that, JP. Thank you. 40k is hard to do this sort of content for. Every wiki page is miles long. There's got to be a middle ground between content and sanity. I mean, don't get me wrong, patch 8 restored my sanity quite a bit. Obviously, getting to make the new Dancer video, which I've been sitting on for ages, was a huge, big, like, bombshell way to open that kind of concept up. But yeah, now it's different. I've got to start thinking about other things, and I'm leaning towards Solasta for sure. I think that's going to be the best thing. Hey, Reggie! Been a while. Good to see you here. Your insight is different from others. Yeah, I mean, I've made an expressive point that I've mentioned before, but I've made it my express goal to never, ever, ever watch other content creators' videos about Baldur's Gate. Specifically because I know that if I do, I'll look back at my whole video, like my whole videography, and just be like, wow, I just copied other people's ideas and I didn't even realize I was doing it. Or, you know, like other stuff like that, right? So I just don't do it. I like to just stay in my own little bubble. You just checked up time played on Solasta, 69 days. Damn. Oh. But yeah. I don't know. I'll have to see. But anyway, weird. Like, sometimes I just kind of have to talk about, like, the content creation side of things. Because working for YouTube sucks. Like, it really, really sucks. Don't get me wrong, the channel at the moment is doing the best it has ever done. Like, it's doing better than when it peaked when Baldur's Gate 3 first came out. Like, at the moment, the channel is getting an average of 10k views a day. 10k views or above every day, which is huge. The previous peak for this channel was around 7 to 8k views per day, back when it was really popular. Now it's getting 10k views across the channel every day, with a lot of my newer videos all reaching 10k individually, which has never happened before, not at that quick, not at that speed. And Dancer version 3 is probably going to be the fastest video to ever hit 100k views. I think it had 15k views within the first, like, 12 hours, which is the fastest video has ever done. Plus, I think it's at, like, 92k or something now. Let me have a look. Like, it's big enough that I don't even have to, like, Google Hobozone Dance Survivor Strike. I just Google Dance Survivor Strike, and my 2 videos are the first thing that pop up. Yeah, what's this at now? 92? 95! 96 nearly. So yeah, it's going to be the fastest video to ever hit 100k. So like, when I say that the channel is doing the best it's ever done, it is. But it is a flash in the pan type situation that's going to die pretty damn quick, which is why I'm looking at these other avenues. You see what I mean? So I really think Solasta 2 is going to be the game. That's just me. I apologize for the rant, and I apologize for going weirdly existential on this build stream. But I feel like it is important sometimes for people to understand what I do, like, and how YouTube works. So how soon do you plan to change things up? Not soon. Not anytime relatively soon. Because on the Steam page for Solasta, we don't even have a release date yet. So I don't have much to go off of. If I'm guessing Solasta is going to release next year. I mean, if the channel takes a dip again, and I'm a bit and it doesn't really matter what I upload, then I might take some liberties here and there and just upload new content and just see where I go, because I don't want to be one of those people who starts, like, a second channel for a different, like, subject matter, because that is so... I hate that YouTube makes people do that, right? Like, YouTube makes it so that if you have to have multiple channels. I don't want to do that. I want to keep my community all in one place. So, I'm thinking that what might happen... Here's my kind of game plan over, let's say, the next few months. For the next 2 months, I keep up the build videos, I keep up the community streams, I keep doing what I'm doing now. Let's say 2 months minimum from now, I start doing modded builds again. Working them in amongst the vanilla builds, working with Mistress Spells, tabletop classes, such like that. We go back to that. Then, maybe as that starts chugging along, I start throwing in tabletop videos. Maybe I make a video on... the original Solasta. Maybe I make a video on something else. Maybe I don't know, maybe I start a podcast or something. Maybe I do some actual D&D stuff. I don't know. Like, I would say between the release, between kind of the end of BG3's kind of popularity and runtime, and the start of Solasta 2, it's just gonna be a big experimental smorgasbord of whatever works, right? Who knows? The problem is the channel is going to dip again before it gets better. Like, there's going to be a period of time, right? But after BG3 dies down, where no matter what I do, the channel is just going to kind of fizzle out. And then Solasta 2 will come out, I hop on that bandwagon again, and because, like I said, but here's where this is going to work, right? Because with BG3, I started from nothing, right? I just happened to get one video that just suddenly got 1,000 views out of nowhere, and I built off of that. So, with this time, though, when Solasta 2 comes out, I've already got all of you guys who are supporting me, which I'm forever thankful for. So with Solasta 2 coming out, with the support that I already have now, that could be when the channel hits another big resurgence. So it's literally just dips and ducks. That's how YouTube works. Like, I can't show you guys. I don't know if... I can't actually show you, like, the channel analytics, because I will get in trouble for that. And there's a potential for you guys to see some stuff where I can get doxxed. But the analytics page of YouTube literally shows up, down, up, down. Like, for everything. For views, for watch time, for subscribers, everything. It's up, down, up, down. And your videos are constantly being told, like, oh, this one's performing worse than usual. Oh, congrats, this one's, performing better than usual. There's literally a thing that YouTube tells people to plagiarize other videos. YouTube actively says, hey, this video underperformed compared to your other ones. Here, click this button to see our inspiration page, which shows you other content creators' videos and how you can use them to make your own content better. YouTube literally tells you, hey, your work is terrible. Here's how other people are doing it better than you. You should copy them. I'm not joking. This is real. I can't express how awful that is. Not to mention all of my interactions with my boss, so to speak, are actually just an algorithm or now even AI crap, because that's starting to be worked into the YouTube Studio page. I'm apparently eligible for automatic dubbing of my videos in other languages, which, don't get me wrong, I'm all for accessibility, but I don't want AI crap in my videos. It's awful. Like, YouTube sucks. Like, I just need people to know what goes on the other side of this. Like, right? Like, it's bad. It's really bad. And I think soon... This is going to sound weird for me to say, but I think soon YouTube is actually going to have a major problem on its hands. Don't get me wrong, it is the biggest social media platform in the world, and I understand that. But I think creators are going to crash and burn, which is going to hurt. I think that there's going to be a marketing issue with AI and all that. That's going to be a big problem. Like, I think more creators are going to quit. I think AI is going to oversaturate the market in a way that's going to make it, and like analytics are going to rule everything, which they already do, which is going to make even more people like kind of burn out on the platform and such like that. I think YouTube itself, its business practices are getting worse and worse. The push for premium and the increased advertising is also a problem, but at the same time, I think that advertisers are going to pull out of YouTube as more and more things are starting to get controversial on the platform and such like that, right? I think there's going to be a big issue within the next few years. Sorry, Shane, you've come back to existential dread. Yeah. I wish MySpace. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but anyway. I'm gonna stop the stream now, because I think my illness has caused me to become a bit delusional. Like I said, I can feel my voice going, and like I'm getting a bit hot. So I think I'm going to stop the stream now. I apologize that we've ended on such a weird and depressing note, but like, I think sometimes it's good for you guys to know my honest thoughts and feelings on what's going on with YouTube stuff at the moment. Don't get me wrong, I'm in a good place, the channel's in a good place, everything is good, but I just want people to know that I'm considering how to go about things in the future, right? Oh, Shane, don't worry. Like, basically, there was this talk about, like, what I'm going to be doing after BG3's popularity kind of dies down. And I kind of went on a little bit of a rant about how YouTube works as a content creator. Which, you know, is a problem. Which I shouldn't do, and I apologize because this is not what my streams and my channel is supposed to be about. But I feel like it makes sense for you guys to understand what goes on the other side of the coin. Yeah, my apologies about that. But again, I think it's an important discussion to have sometimes, because when you do watch people on YouTube, just know that your favorite content creators could be going through some shit, like when it comes to working with YouTube, which can suck for them. Again, for me, I'm fine. This isn't my full-time job or anything like that, right? But it is going to do a lot for people. But yeah, I'm just going to stop now because I feel like I will keep going. But don't worry, we're all good. I'm fine. No, I'll be honest, I've got it really good compared to some other people on this platform. That I feel like, especially, honestly, I feel bad for bigger content creators. I really do. Because having to maintain that if you don't have a stable foundation must really suck. But anyways, I'm going to stop here. I apologize for that towards the end. That was weird. I hope you guys all enjoyed the stream, though. We got 2 builds done. We'll probably do 2 builds next time as well, because I feel like the 2 is a good number for us. So yeah, to grow. But I'm not. But like I say, I'm not too worried about the popularity. If the channel dies, it dies. It's whatever. But yeah, no, I'm really. What I'm saying is, as though I'm really looking forward to Solasta 2 because I think that's going to be fun for me, and I think that's going to be fun for everyone. Anyways, I will see you all later. Thanks for joining me for this stream. I had a fun time despite the weird stuff at the end. So thank you all for joining me. I will see you all probably in a couple of weeks, or I guess for some of you, if you do want to go see this D&D stream that I'll be in briefly, in a couple of hours. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.